Here we go.
Cut the fix up with some Xbox babies. Put the switch up. See me gearing up for war, don't get it mixed up. I'm bringing commentary and the new releases. I put the hours in to get play on X. Scared now you on a fourth line. If you ain't tuned in, head down. Cut the fix up with some Xbox babies. Put the switch me gearing up for stuff. I come in peace, kid. I'm bringing commentary and the new releases. I put the hours in to get prepared now. Play on expert level. Don't be scared now. You on a fourth line. If you ain't tuned into the down.
Thank you for joining us on The Fix tonight. You're here with myself, Infinite Umbra. I'm here with two excellent guests and content creators in the community. And of course, I'm joined by my co-star, co-host, Daniel J. McGee.
What's up, everybody?
And we have, like I said, two great guests here. We have, for the first time joining us, Logan Meyer of the All Things Xbox podcast, one half with him and Jamie Moran, who is now on the podcast, of course, with myself on Tuesdays with Boom, the Xbox Factor. Not Jamie. Logan, brother, thank you for joining us. First time, for first of many, I hope. Thanks for joining us, and could you tell the good folks what you have been up to and what you've been playing?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, I've just been doing all things Xbox with Jamie for a while now, and it's really taking off and doing well. We really enjoy that. Kind of have a fireside chat kind of vibe to the show for those who are unfamiliar. It's just the two of us talking, just friendly conversation, and try to keep pretty upbeat and positive about things. There's enough doom and gloom out there.
Yeah.
And we of course we do talk about the negative if there's something that needs to be talked about. You don't make progress or learn things if you bury your head in sand, so we do talk about that, but for the most part positive. Just every Tuesday. And as far as gaming related stuff I've been doing, today I started on the new Night Dive remaster of PO'd, which is and let me tell you, that game is an acid trip. It makes zero sense. It came out in 94, 95, the original, for the 3DO, and then it had a PS1 port. And this game is basically, you're this chef on this ship, and your crew has been just obliterated by aliens. And so you're having to use kitchen utensils as weapons. And so you're fighting with this, like, cleaver, and then a, a frying pan. You eventually get a flamethrower, jetpack, a whole bunch of stuff. It's all like neon bright colors and just crazy stuff. The alien designs are insane. Like, one of the early enemies you fight is this, it basically looks like a waist from the belt down, and it runs around and shoots blobs at you and stuff. And it's just bizarre, makes no sense, but I love it. And that's the main game I've been playing so far.
Okay, that sounds pretty interesting. I don't know if I ever have, I've been kind of in a gaming rut myself lately, man. The only thing I've ever been, well, at least been playing for a while now, has been Stellar Blade, really, and that's off and on. So I do need to get it back in gear. But now we have, of course, Hellblade 2 coming up, so I guess I'll be putting time into that. Yeah. And of course, our second guest, and returning guest as well, Hargeet Chani. Hargeet,
How's it
brother,
going?
what's up with you? And yeah, hey, so I want to point out that Hargeet has a book. If you guys are not aware of it, Emergence. I actually purchased it and I have it here with myself.
Nice.
Yeah, I will say this. It's crazy. Like I read all the time, right, Hargeet? I read like
Yeah.
manga, manhwa, stuff like that. All these things. It is such a difference in trying to get back, to getting back to used to just reading a book in your hand, because typically
Yeah.
I'm reading it offline on the computer or something like that. My books or whatever I read, right?
Yeah.
It is something like it's a task right now that I have to get myself over trying to actually hold the book and read it. It's so weird. But yeah, man. I'm sorry, but
Have you gotten through any of it, or?
I started like the first chapter. That was really it. The breakdown of the,
Okay,
the
okay.
65 million years, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't really get too far, but I'm going to make sure to get through a chapter and everything tonight for sure. But yeah,
Cool.
man. Tell the good folks what you've been up to outside of obviously releasing what I'm sure will be a New York Best Times, seller and everything like that.
I hope, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so after that's finally done, I now finally have gotten back to gaming. So I
Nice.
did actually play a few games. I started up Tales of Kenzera, and then some games were leaving Game Pass, and I'm like, oh, I want to try those before they leave. So I finished Iron Chronicle Rising. I finished Norco. I played, was it Supraland, 6 Inches Under, I think it was called. I did not get through that one. I kind of got to a point of like, I'm kind of done with this. So, but it was okay. It's a kind of a platformy game.
Okay.
But yeah, I played that. I did one of my puzzle games. Chronicles of Magic. That was another one that I played in between. So yeah, I've been just kind of getting back into the gaming swing. A little bit of Halo with the the crew.
Nice.
So, but yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing.
Yeah, man.
Um,
I've all but fallen off on Halo. I need to get back into it.
Yeah, Halo is still good, man.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I saw some of the new
Um,
items they had for this new I guess I don't want to call it battle pass, but this new update.
Yeah.
They're kind of pricey, I saw. I was like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't pay attention to a lot of that anymore. I did
Yeah.
I bought the battle pass way back when it first came out,
Mm.
and then I got one of those special armors, the HCS something whatever it was. I
Right.
never changed it after that. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I spent my money on it. I'm good. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, they do keep releasing new stuff, right? So
Yeah.
um,
That's my motto for them. They keep releasing, I'll keep buying. But
there you go, right? Those microtransactions.
yeah. With
Gotta
this
make sure 343 don't get closed.
I know, right? Hey, with this Project Latitude they're talking about, maybe it'll have new life on another platform.
Ugh.
Anyway, and last but certainly not least, co-star, co-host Daniel J. McGee. Brother, what have you been up to and what have you been playing?
So the Fallout 76 grind has officially ended.
Nice.
We have completed all content. Well, not all content, but all of the main story content for Fallout 76. It's what a very high and low kind of game that is. There's a lot of stuff, particularly the earlier stuff, that is just awful. Now I can definitively say anything before Wastelanders, which is basically the storyline dealing with the Scorched and all that, is just garbage. It's just ass. That whole part of the game is just really bad. The Wastelanders part is a really good step in the right direction. It adds so much to the world that it makes it a playable game. But it's not until you get into Steel Rain and Steel Dawn, the two Brotherhood of Steel expansion whatevers that came out,
Mm-hmm.
that the content actually becomes genuinely pretty good. The stories of those feel like they're together, at least, about the quality of a pretty decent DLC for New Vegas or 3.
Nice.
So it's really good content there. There's another one coming out next month, the Skyline Valley one.
Oh, I
And,
heard about that. Yeah.
I'm interested in that. I think I'll go back to it. I did pick up the first month of Fallout first because it was super cheap. and just immediately turned off recurring payment. And so that'll have ended before that comes out. And I don't see myself renewing it because honestly, I really didn't have any reason to keep it. Like it doesn't give you as much as you would think. Like it gives you stuff, it gives you atoms that you can use to spend in like in the shop to buy stuff to decorate your camp. But really, you don't need to use your camp like at all. Like your camp is really just a place that you can fast travel for free and a place where you can drop off all your junk. And otherwise, you really don't need to do anything else with it.
Well, I guess that's kind of the typical in any camp, though, in any game, right?
Yeah.
You kind of
Yeah. So there's not really like, unless you just really want to dress up your camp, which is fine, and I'm sure a ton of people do. There's really not any reason for me to have Fallout First, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I feel like also the game, because Fallout First gives you access to the like private servers or whatever you can play by yourself or just like a handful of friends, and that's fun and all, but the game really does heavily incentivize you to do things with other players, and pretty much all of the late game content is instanced anyway. So as soon as you enter into like one of the dungeons or one of the expeditions, you're just in whatever team you were in when you left anyway.
Yeah.
So there's really just not a lot of point to having it. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I'm glad I'm done with it. It wasn't terrible, but a lot of it was just.
I don't know
like
if that's a good compliment. Like, it
it's
wasn't
not,
terrible.
It's really not. It's still like definitively the worst Fallout game.
Oh,
but
man.
I'm really happy that so many people have sort of gotten in on 76 and are saying how much they love it, because then I can be like, if you love that, let me introduce you to a good game and show them any of the other Fallout games. Because unless the really mediocre loot grind is what they're into, there are better horizons to be shown.
All right. Yeah, man. I got pushed off of Fallout. I got pushed off of 2 games actually, Dragon's Dogma 2 and Fallout. And Fallout pushed me off of Dragon's Dogma to get into that because of the show. Shamefully, he admitted. And then Stellar Blade pushed me off of Fallout for the yams. I had to do it. Had to do it. But no, I've been pushed off a few games, man. I have my backlog starting to look crazy. So, well, it's been looking crazy. It's looking crazier, I guess I should say. But I got to get back to it and get back on it. So that's good. You finish it up. How many hours would you say you did total?
So again, it's hard to say because it only counts the hours like in total. And I think, because I bounced off it a couple times. Like I went in and played it a little bit when Wastelanders happened. I played it a little bit at launch. But my total, like for all time playtime that it told me when I was done was like 120 hours. But I think that probably this time was maybe in the ballpark of like 80, like it's a pretty long game. Like there is a lot of content there, and a good, I would say, like third of it is genuinely really good content. The stuff surrounding it is kind of irritating, where it's like, why is there no local map here? Like I can't find my way through this expedition because whenever I open my map, it still just shows me that like I'm in the pit, but when I open my map, it just shows me the map of Appalachia still. So I don't know what that's going on with. Also, I didn't know that like when you go on the expeditions, it's not, at least the pit, I think they added it later for Atlantic City, but it's not like you're going to this place and you're exploring the pit. They're basically like raids. So you go in with your team and you're just like wiping out waves of enemies and then like killing a boss and heading home, which was a little disappointing. But those sections are still fun. It's just like not what I wanted. And I think that's my biggest takeaway from Fallout 76 is like it is a fun game. You can definitely have an enjoyable time playing it.
Right.
But I feel like people who are fans of the other Fallout games are gonna continuously be like, they're gonna feel like they want to go and play the other ones instead. You know what I mean?
I got you. Yeah. Well. I mean, I hear you on it. Like I said, I'm so far behind, man, that it'll be a long time if ever that I ever touch that game. But
yeah, it's really long.
Yeah.
But it's been in my backlog for a long time, so it feels good to get it out of there.
Yeah, absolutely. You get it. Feels good to pull it out of your back. No, I'm joking.
I know, right? It's a long one too. Like, because I also want to get in and. I mean, we've talked about before, like I do want to go back and try and do like SWTOR and play through the campaign of that. I do want to go back and try and play through like at least as much of the ESO storyline as I can, right? But these games are just so time consuming that I don't know when I can actually have the time to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I definitely understand. But now that we got through that, so folks in the chat and for those listening, if you have not done so, please hit the like button. I'll ask periodically. Usually I don't even say it. I kind of forget, but let me make sure to tell you guys to hit the like button to help us out in the algorithm. And if you do deem yourself to necessary, please share it out on Twitter. I have it shared on my timeline. As far as things, we have a lot to talk about tonight, so we're going to try to get through it as fast as we can as far as the news roundup, and then get to the major topics. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, AC, Shadows, the first trailer being shown, and all the details behind that, and of course, a lot of controversy surrounding it. From the usual types, the grifters and the morons, and of course, now we have the new info on a new major AAA studio created by Microsoft and Activision, which was surprising. And also, what's the word I want to use here? Well, I guess surprising is really the word, because it upends a lot of general thought I think we had, and it poses a lot of new questions. It's like, wait a minute, you just closed these, so wait a minute, okay, was this to pave the way for this? So it's a lot of questions in that. So I definitely want to get you guys' takes on that. And of course, we're going to do predictions as well for the upcoming showcase, because Danny won't be here with us for the next, 2 weeks, is it, Danny?
Yeah, well, it's the next, I think, 3 Thursdays, but Thursdays. I'm going on a family vacation to Italy. I'm very excited about it.
Bobbity
We're
boopity.
gonna be there it's gonna be great. Honestly, I so much need to just not be at work for a couple of weeks. It's gonna be so nice.
Understand. I can understand it.
But it's so we leave on the 22nd, and then we're gone almost directly up until the Xbox showcase. I get back the night of the 7th.
Right.
And then obviously the showcase is on the 9th. And I think, we'll get into it in the rundown, but Summer Game Fest is on the 7th. So I'm going to come back and it's just going to be showcase season, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. So you'll be back on the 7th. So that's right. So you'll miss the 6th, of course, that week.
Yeah.
And so the next week after, of course, we'll be discussing the showcase, of course, that following Thursday, which is the 13th. Okay.
The 13th. Yeah.
Thursday to 13th is when you'll be back for us as far as the show.
For sure.
Yep. So we'll have a lot to talk about then. I'm hearing a lot of good stuff behind the scenes. I don't want to say too much, but I'm going to stick to my own specific predictions. And of course, for Hargeet and Logan, I want you guys to give your thoughts and what you suspect might be there. So Danny, let's get to this news roundup, man.
Hell yeah. So I already kind of alluded to it, but Summer Game Fest has officially announced all of its partners. It's happening on June 7th, and they put up their usual graphic of just all of the different people who are going to be in it, because it is that time of year again where Jeff Keighley puts out one mediocre showcase and then pretends that every other thing that happened within a month in either direction was also his doing. My favorite trait for a man to have is saying you did this, I did this. Anyway, there's some interesting partners showing up in this thing. It has all of your usual suspects, your PlayStations, your Xbox, your Sega, yada yada. Some interesting ones are popping up in here this year, such as Magic the Gathering, which is that an ad partner? Is there a Magic the Gathering game coming out? Hopefully it's not just a card game, because genuinely the Magic universe has a lot of really interesting stuff that they could go for, so who knows? We'll see where that's going. Interesting that it says that and not Wizards of the Coast, though. As well as Meta, so presumably we'll be seeing some VR stuff, maybe that Xbox limited edition one, whatever that they were talking about. Amazon Games is going to be there, which will be good because we haven't seen a new game from them for a minute. And Atari, or the skinwalker that bought the name Atari and is pretending to be them, will also apparently be showing something off. So that's interesting. Basically, everyone else who you can name is going to be there in some capacity. I think, like Ubisoft, EA, like if you name a big publisher, they are on this list.
Yeah.
Most of these may not actually show. It's important to note, may not actually show up in the Summer Game Fest like kickoff show that he does. He really does just include literally anybody who is having
He does
any
do that.
any event.
I remember
like,
he did
within
that
a couple weeks.
I remember he did that last year. We were like, wait a minute, I didn't see them there.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they'll probably be like advertising, and that's
yeah.
counts all
They're
that.
like
right?
advertising partners where like
Yeah.
on his website he'll mention that these things are happening, and so they are like kind of partnered, but it does put a bad taste in my mouth of him being like, this is my thing too, and we're like, no, it's not, dude.
You're not
Yeah,
part of
very-
it.
I don't know about all that.
Heliocentric for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Hi, fellow gamers. This is all me. Yeah, get out. But yeah,
so how are you all feeling about that? You
Yeah,
excited
what are you
for
guys
Summer
thinking?
Game Fest?
yeah, please. Logan, what's your thinking about this with the Summer Game Fest?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. You know, I'll be honest, it'll probably be meh, like most of the summer game stuff he does. But you know, I'm a gaming junkie, so of course I'll tune in and see what he's got to show. Like when I saw Boca Studios on the list, that kind of piqued my curiosity because I'm a big horror genre junkie fan. So, like, Splitterhead is the game that they've been working on, and it looks just downright just freaky as heck. It just looks super cool and bizarre, and it like involves like original Silent Hill people and stuff. So that one for sure has my attention.
Nice. What about you, Hargeet? What's your thinking of it? Hargeet actually has a unique perspective because he was there last year. He was there.
And I'm gonna be there this time too.
Nice.
So I will certainly enjoy it, I'm sure. I like the last show too. And there is something different about being there and actually seeing people, right? And you can like see the, you know, like the people actually showcasing coming in, and then we were able to talk to them afterwards, you know. So it's a little different, I guess, right? So but yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna enjoy it. I see Pocket Pair in there. I'm curious what the heck they're doing. Is that going to be an announcement for other platforms, or is that just to advertise, hey, we're still here making, you know, lots of stuff for our whatever 30 million players?
Yeah.
Nice.
Don't
Yeah.
forget, we're still the top game of the year.
Right. Yeah. As far as what I can
Right.
say, I mean, I know we got Private Division showing up. I'm guessing they'll
Yeah.
have some partnerships or something that because they typically just
Didn't
publish.
Private Division just get like shut down?
A lot of their teams a lot of their full teams were shut down, and then basically every other one was hit with layoffs. Take-Two did a
Yeah,
lot of
so
a
not sure
lot of
what's left
shaking
of
up
them, but-
lately. So
Yeah.
Yeah. But I expect it to be okay. Like last year for me, the Summer Game Fest, I don't know, Danny, what was it for you? For me, I didn't really think too much of it. Now, to be fair, I wasn't there in person, so maybe it was better an experience in person.
yeah, for sure. I guess it's kind of one of those things where you're like, oh yeah, Borderlands 3 is fun when you play it with friends, but then you play it by yourself and you're like, I don't know.
You're right.
You know what I mean? So I'm sure that it's a great time to be there, you know, but definitely watching from home, I have never been impressed by Summer Game Fest. Maybe this will be the one to change it, but typically it just doesn't really have any particularly big announcements, and then it's just like weighed down by so many like gaming tertiary ads where it's just like, oh yeah, Jeff needed to get some ad rev going in here, even though it's being watched by like 17 million people or whatever.
Right.
You gotta get those
Yeah, I
fake commercials, man.
Yeah, well, it's weird to me because everything in the entire showcase is ad rev, and then like, but here's some more. Like, I don't know,
I
man.
think like the Game Awards generally tends to be a better show.
For sure.
And so the other part is I don't know how many games are really ready to be announced anyways, and that always is a headache. Ubisoft has their own thing, so they're probably going to focus there. They're probably still going to have something on the Xbox stage as well, I'd expect, because they still have quite a bit of a partnership with Xbox. PlayStation doesn't have anything, so I mean, because I was hearing there's gonna be a showcase or something with them this month,
Yeah.
but nothing's been announced yet, so there's not a
Well,
lot of time
secret
left.
showcase.
That is actually another thing that I have on here is there's this big rumor that there's going to be a PlayStation showcase. Apparently they're doing some kind of business meeting, and like last year they did the showcase on the same day. So that would be next week. So people are really banking on that happening next week. I don't see that happening. I think they really need to do one, and I do think they will do one this year at some point. I just don't necessarily think it's like right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I like timing wise, when would they like do something like that? I mean, next week makes sense. The week after, maybe. Here at least it's a big holiday week, right? There's
Yeah.
Memorial, so I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what they're gonna do, and then we kind of get into prep for the actual June, E3 stuff,
Right.
whatever X E3 stuff. But so the most exciting one by far is going to be the Xbox showcase, right? And I assume that like industry wide, that just happens to be the case because they have stuff to actually show us, right? We have a whole bunch of games that we know are coming, and then they have new stuff, right? And they have multiple publishers worth of stuff to tell us about, right? So, so the Keighley show, I still think is going to be something interesting. There's a lot of partners here. Hopefully, they have some new stuff to show us. But either way, I enjoy them. I enjoy the like getting an update on games that I maybe already knew about, but now I get to see like gameplay trailers and right, let's actually see what's going on with it. Maybe releases.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, right? So I'll still enjoy it. And again, there is a difference when you actually get to like, we talk to some of these developers, right? So I'm forgetting the name of the guy who does the Mortal Kombat.
Ed Boon.
Ed Boon.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he was there. We were able to talk to him. Sam Lake, he's the Remedy dude, I think. That's
Yeah,
his-
that's him.
So he was there. We were able to talk to him, right? Stuff like
Nice.
that. Where it's just it's a different interaction when you get to actually meet and greet with these folks.
Yeah.
Right? We were front row, and Nicolas Cage is right.
Nice.
Like,
Were you
so,
guys starstruck by anybody or what?
I think Sam probably. I think Ed. A couple of people in our group were definitely interested in talking to him.
Yeah.
I took more of a like, these are all nice. I try not.
Yeah,
to
the
get
regular.
that,
Yeah, you don't pass out on them. I feel faint.
like, I don't know. I'm sure they see that all the time, and it's probably more refreshing to have just a normal, casual conversation instead of a like,
Fair.
oh my
Fair enough.
god.
Fair enough. What about
So,
Keighley? Did you get a chance to talk with him or?
Not too much at SGF, but I actually got to talk to him at FanFest.
Nice. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, so
All right.
I don't know. It could be pretty good. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, I'm much more excited about the Xbox showcase. I know there's gonna be a whole bunch of things that are gonna be kick-ass there.
Oh man.
But-
So you know some things, huh? All right, Hargeet.
Well, I mean, there's just updates we know about, right? They've already
Yeah.
told us there are these updates coming,
Mhm.
right? There's definitely stuff we already know is gonna be there, and then there's stuff we're getting rumors about,
Yeah.
and they have a lot of updates to tell us, right? They gave us a roadmap at the beginning
Yeah.
in 2020, and we're still waiting for a lot of those games, right? So
True.
we just know they have that plus. They just bought ABK.
Yep.
We get their stuff, right? And so there's just so much there, and then we got the leaks of Bethesda's games, and
We got a lot. We got a lot to pay off.
Yeah.
That needs to pay off
right?
at this
Yeah,
point.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's time, right? And
Yep.
no matter what they do, there's going to be so much that's still going to be left to be talked about.
So true.
because They have so many games. It's
They
like,
might
you just
split
look
it
at
for
what
the-
Colt put together.
Yeah, I
And you're like,
saw. It was a good
How
video
do I
too.
even have time for this?
Shout out to Colt. But maybe that's why they'll split some of it and put it for this here with Jeff Keighley. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing. They want to have stuff at each show. So there's going to be Gamescom.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to wait for some things to show up at Gamescom. They're going to have the Tokyo Game Show.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be stuff there too, right? And then there's obviously the Game Awards. Now, my perfect scenario for Xbox is you have so much stuff now that I want every show to just say, oh yeah, Xbox had a lot there. So even Summer Game Fest, they should just do some knockout like thing to say Summer Game Fest, the highlight was the Xbox thing, right? Because
Yeah.
that way it's just the whole mind share of everybody in the gaming world will start to shift away from the PlayStation centric thing to the Xbox centric thing, which it should be, right? They have so many games to give you now, right? It should start moving in that direction, right? So
Mhm.
they have the content, and now it's up to them to like push it. Like the Game Awards last year, I don't care what else was there. That was an Xbox showcase.
Oh yeah.
It was the Xbox stuff that made that a
For
good show.
for sure.
So,
Yep.
right, and I want that to just keep going. Roll on with that. Just keep going. So if
Mm.
Perfect Dark doesn't show up in this I think it would show up in the game. I would rather it show up in the Game Awards because that's where it was announced.
That
And
it
give us the
was
update of what's going on with it, right? And put it in the Game Awards. Put that in front of as many eyeballs, right?
that, and squash
Anyway,
all
I'm
those
rambling.
squash all the negative rumors around it. That's what they really.
Yeah,
They got to
exactly,
correct
right?
these narratives, yeah, because a lot of narratives are just painting Xbox. It's a lot of negative around it, and I don't want
Yep.
to say doom and gloom because they are, I think, the arbiters of their own destruction. Like they're giving them info, like they're like, oh yes, this is happening too. Terrible. Oh, and also this terrible thing we did. We closed these studios too. It's like everything. They're feeding the media who wants to put a negative spin on anything Xbox. So
Always.
yeah,
Unbelievable.
yeah. But I guess enough on this topic because we do got to keep it moving. Danny, what else did we have?
Well, so one thing that we do know is going to be shown off at Summer Games Fest is Take-Two is planning on revealing a new game from what they're calling one of their biggest and most beloved franchises. It has a lot of people combining this with the rumors of a new entry in the Mafia series. So it could
Love
be
it.
that. There's also, we've been hearing rumors of a new BioShock game for a long time. So it could be something in that ballpark. There's a lot of options here. But they're claiming that it's going to be a big deal, which I guess they wouldn't be like, hey, it's going to suck, but still.
Hey, guess what? We're putting out something that's going to suck.
Right?
Hey, guess what? This game's going to blow. Don't buy it.
Right. Now GTA though,
GTA, right?
they've already confirmed though that GTA. The news came out today that they've confirmed it's coming out next year in fall.
Yeah. So this is distinctly not GTA. I mean, I guess it's possible GTA would also be there, but they made it clear that this would be a brand new announcement, whereas GTA 5 has been officially announced.
Yeah.
So
GTA
theoretically, based on the
GTA
language, you would
6.
assume.
GTA
Right.
6,
Yeah.
Sorry, GTA 6. Yeah,
Yeah.
that couldn't be what it is. But who knows? They could just show it off anyway.
Mm-hmm. It could be that.
Yeah, I mean, Keeley would like do anything in the world to get GTA on his stage, right? Obviously, right?
For sure.
I don't know how much they would he would have to fork over to get that, but
He'll
it may be
ignore
worth
as
the
many
fork,
layoffs as he needs to get GTA.
right? But I don't know. Like GTA does not need anybody else to market it. It's GTA, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, Keeley would just
My depraved mind went
go
to the
crazy
wrong
to
thing.
get
My
So-
mind, when you said he'd do anything, I'm like, what would he do for a Klondike bar?
Oh, no.
yeah.
Just tell me, I'll do it. Whatever you say.
But yeah, that would be a crazy. But you're right. The other games are also pretty big. A BioShock would be awesome. A Mafia game that'd be cool as well. So we'll see. But yeah, I think if it's GTA, my God.
You think so?
Yeah. If GTA is there, that'd be really cool. I could see them showing something off there. I don't think it would be like a release date or anything.
Yeah, it's
but
too
it does
far away.
feel like
It's
it
too
does
far
feel
away
like
for a release.
yeah. Well, because like Umbra said, they just updated a thing officially or unofficially. I'm not sure to be that the release date is fall of 2025.
Yeah, they
so maybe
said that
that's
we're
their announcement.
targeting spring, but a much more likely fall, something like that. I think I read something along
Yeah.
those lines.
So plus there's something about Mafia that just feels like the right level of big for Summer Game Fest. Take that for what you will.
Mafia seems like it'll be. I would love for it to be Mafia. By the way, love that
Yeah.
series. It seems like it'll be right. I definitely think it'll be something different, and not GTA specifically because they, like you said, it's so big they don't need him. For
Yeah.
that. So
I guess technically it could be a Borderlands too now because they own Gearbox.
Could be. Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
it'd be a little sudden
You
though.
own them now
Be a
again,
little
right?
soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, but that doesn't mean they couldn't have been working with them already, right? Because
True.
I think all
True,
the
they were
Borderlands
already the
have gone
publishers.
through Private Division, right? Or whatever,
Right.
however we want to call it. But Take Two has been the one doing theirs, right?
Yeah. No, you're right. They could absolutely. It's possible.
So, yeah.
It's possible. Yeah. Then that's. I mean, it would give more reason why they bought them. Like, well, we're already publishing for you. Why not?
Why
Yeah.
not just own it?
Makes sense. Makes sense. Logan, you got any thoughts, man, on to what it could be?
Yeah. To me personally, I think BioShock.
BioShock. Oh, that makes
yeah.
sense too. They actually were making on a remake of that, right? Or a reboot of that series, right?
Yeah, and I just for a variety of reasons, I think it'll be there. One, Keeley loves him some reboots and remakes, remasters, and just old franchises coming back. his showcase has had those a ton over the years. It just seems like a good spot. Ken Levine's Judas game was announced not that long ago. It's got a lot of hype. I kind of think maybe, they don't want to be like, hey, well, we have the original one, remember? And so they don't want to be kind of left out in the dark about it. And it's been a while, and to me, I think that bring some big juice to the show. So I think Bioshock.
Yeah, I think that's actually two good points. BioShock makes a lot of sense because we did hear rumor of them making a reboot of that series. Mafia makes sense because they already alluded to that, and I believe at 1.2 being made into it. They also had the remakes, of course, or remasters of Part 1 and 2. So I can see that. Yeah, makes sense. And then, I mean, we had other news with Take-Two. Did you put that into the rundown, Danny? Now that we're speaking on them.
The them shutting down a bunch of games.
Yeah, that and their fiscal loss, I guess, of this past quarter.
Yeah, so this has been sort of an ongoing story with them where I think basically since January, we've been seeing hints at and then steps in the direction of dropping a whole bunch of, both employees and projects. I don't know if it's been like officially confirmed today or what, but it's definitely been being shared around again that they have officially now shut down at least 12 different projects. The expectation is that there will be another round of layoffs associated with that, although that hasn't been confirmed yet. And yeah, their financials are not doing great, which is probably at least partially because of the delay of GTA 5 or G6. Sorry. Because obviously I'm sure their shareholders are putting a lot of stock into when that game is coming out. So there's a lot of not great things going on over there right now, but it's also like a lot of this will get washed away as soon as GTA comes out and makes them more money than God. So
yeah, that's somebody else was saying it too. They're like, oh, 2K is effed. I'm like, nah. GTA 6 drops, it'll cure everything for them. They'll be fine. But they did take a loss. They posted a 2.9 billion quarterly loss. Ouch. Anyone else they'd been going under right there.
It's a big hit. Yeah, they're taking a lot of monetary loss. Obviously, again, like they'll make it up when GTA comes out, so it's not the end of the world. But like it's a big hit, and it does explain a lot of their restructuring and a lot of their layoffs. They did shut down 2 studios and then denied that they had shut down those studios, and then came back later and were like, "Hey, we just wanted the studios themselves to announce it." And it's like, well, why? What are you talking about? It was their CEO Strauss Zelnick, I think was his name.
Yeah,
and I didn't write this part down, but yeah, he because I was looking up like everything that had happened, and it was said that they were denying that they had shut the studios down, but then like later there was an update on that same account that was like both of the studios had confirmed that they have been shut down. And I was like, all right, what's going on? What are we doing?
We want to give the latitude to our newly fired teams to make the announcement.
Yeah, we want to give them one last piece of homework,
right?
Which is to walk out in front on the main stage and say, "Help me, I screwed up."
Right.
Like,
wow.
I don't know, man.
Obviously, our hearts and love go out to those affected. Obviously, we don't want to make light of it.
For sure.
But this is like we've said it before. This is going to be an ongoing thing for the rest of this year.
It's gonna be a bad year, guys. Get ready.
Yep. What else did we have?
Valve's making a new game. They don't do it often, so I guess we should all pay attention when they do. Gabe Newell was on some interview or something recently, and just for some reason decided to spill all the beans about what this game is. Apparently, it's called Deadlock, and it's a 6v6 hero shooter that's like medieval steampunk, and also has the fast travel. He called it fast travel, but he doesn't mean it. He means you can like move around the map fast with grind rails that are similar to BioShock Infinite. He basically just saying a bunch of stuff, and then there was like obviously no footage or pictures or anything of the game, so who knows. But hey, I guess they're maybe making kind of an Overwatch, but not really. Yeah, I don't know. People are excited about it because Valve doesn't make games often, but when they do, they're usually pretty good. So
yeah, when I saw that, I thought maybe is this a VR thing? I was like,
it feels like it might be.
Yeah,
but a hero shooter in VR seems like a choice.
Yeah, that for sure. Logan, you excited for this, man? Are you into, I don't know, the VR or the hero shooters, I suppose?
Hero shooters really aren't my thing, and VR gives me a migraine, so I'd say no on both.
So
But
no, yeah.
Yeah.
hate to be a dud on that one, but if I hear the Gaben is making a game, though, I do that does perk my ears up for sure, though. But if it's VR or hero shooter, nah, hard pass.
Yeah. What about you, Hargeet? That's that right up your alley right there.
Yeah, same problem. The VR thing kind of kills it for me. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, they usually make great games. That is the thing, right? Almost all their games are like hits.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's VR, and look, their last VR game wasn't that Half-Life Alyx or whatever, and that was a massive hit.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
big one for them. Yeah.
It was the biggest hit the
But-
VR has had, and it's only on like
Right.
2 of the platforms. So
So
Good for those
I'm
two, I
sure it'll
guess.
be good, but like, yeah, they're gonna have to make it like compatible with what do we call it, pancake, or whatever we call our normal 2D plane
Yeah.
Oh,
instead of
yeah.
having VR. I don't know. I don't quite want to deal with the VR for a game for that long. But the headache with VR is the headset. You have to deal with it around your head, and then usually these things only last so long, or you have to have them plugged in, and then I don't know. It's just not. It's not that useful to me. I don't know.
Yeah. What would you guys feel about like if Steam, if I don't know if it was a rumor, but I guess it was just speculation. Like, what if they made their own console? What would you guys feel about that? Would it pull you away from Xbox? You think if they had a lot of the
I mean, they already
features?
have one, the Steam Deck, right?
Yeah,
There's
but
the Steam Deck.
yeah.
I've seen the rumors of like a Steam box or whatever, where it's like a streaming
Mhm.
thing. There's definitely been a lot of rumors to this. I think they could definitely do it. I mean, they're kind of the de facto PC marketplace, which means they're loaded, so they could definitely take the hit if it needed some time to get started up.
True.
I don't know
they
that
did
it's
it
necessary
before,
though.
right?
I don't know. Did they?
I think so, but the problem was they didn't have that new Steam, like the interface they have on the Steam Deck. They didn't have that, right? It was Linux based, right? And I don't think they had, is it Proton? Is that what they used? I can't remember. I think that's what they used.
I
too.
remember
Using,
the
like,
Steam box, yeah.
Yeah, so it existed, but I think they can now take the Steam Deck and
And
make
evolve
that
that.
into a console.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. I guess too. I guess it's all about timing, right? Because maybe at that time, they, most people just weren't, I guess, PC adept or moving toward that direction. Not most.
Yeah.
A lot of people, should I say, weren't. Because I'm going to guess it was a ton of people on PC at the time. But maybe a console for those who are on PC already. It's like, why would I buy that? So maybe now it's more acceptable, I guess, for people if that's the case.
Yeah. So
Maybe they'll just make the Steam Deck dockable and then just plug it into your TV like a Switch or something.
You can already
Honestly,
do that. Yeah.
Oh well, then problem solved.
yeah, you can
done.
already do that.
Why do more?
Yeah, true.
well, I assume the reason is because the Steam Deck has to meet performance and power requirements, whereas with a box you can scale that up, right? You can have a lot more performance available to you.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on how much they want to cost, right? They could make that into much more of a 8 to 10, 12 teraflop box.
Right.
So they could certainly scale it up.
More
Even
for
go
premium.
further,
Yeah,
right, with newer tech.
true.
So
Yeah. It does give me thoughts about what Xbox is going to do going forward, because we know we're hearing about the rumored 2 SKUs with the handheld. And Jazz posted a tweet earlier, actually asked, what would you guys call the next Xbox? And I thought about it and I said, how about the Xbox Nomad? Since Nomad, the definition for it is a person or whatever who's like constantly moving around, never stuck in one place, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, well, that kind of fits the description of what you would have if you have a portable device, right? You're not staying in one place necessarily. You're able to move with it, move around with it. I said maybe that's one thing they could use. But yeah, anyway, that's neither here nor there. Just thought I'd share that. Anyway, what else did we have, Danny?
We've got more layoffs, unfortunately, and just kind of a lot of news related to Square, but we'll get to the rest of it later. Square had a bunch of layoffs across Europe and the United States. Presumably, they didn't do Japan because it's a lot harder to lay people off in Japan unless you're Microsoft. So we don't know the numbers of it yet, but this is, again, much like Take-Two, this is part of their sort of continued restructuring to sort of focus in on a smaller group of bigger games. It's a thing that they've been talking about for a relatively long time. It's unfortunate, but it just keeps happening. They also have canceled a lot of games recently. They're basically doing the exact same thing that Take-Two has done, where they've canceled a ton of games, they've laid off a bunch of people. They also are changing their studios, or sorry, their creative business units to be studios, which I don't know what the difference there really is, especially since the one that we know the name change of has gone from Creative Business Unit 3 to Creative Studio 3, which is like, all right, sure, cool, thanks. But yeah, this is just them focusing in on things that they know are going to work, because obviously we've seen from their financials that they need something to work. So
yeah, it's going to be more, like I said, though, we just said a minute ago, it's going to be more of that coming along this year, so you can expect that. It's unfortunate. I think the bigger hit is that I think we're just going to lose out on so much creativity as it comes
For
to
sure.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's going to be a talent bleed situation where with all of these layoffs, I know that also a lot of the studios, for some reason, despite also doing tons of layoffs, are also hiring in a lot of places, which feels weird, even though like obviously they're different positions. Like it makes sense, but also it feels weird. But with so many layoffs, it does feel like it's almost inevitable that a huge amount of these people are going to probably end up going to different industries, and it's just going to be a lot of talent loss in terms of like experience, and people who know how to do certain things just will not be working in the industry anymore. And that's a big bummer. But I don't know what to do about it at this point. So
I guess we can only rely on somebody, I don't know, creating their own, hopefully having their own indie studio at this point. That's what it seems like they'll have to do.
Yeah.
But what else did we have?
Well, speaking of which, just in sort of a similar vein, Ubisoft is also doing a lot of restructuring. We haven't seen a lot of the backlash for it yet, although they did just cancel Division Heartlands, and obviously they announced Assassin's Creed that we're going to be, well, not announced, but showed off for the first time in Assassin's Creed Shadows that we're going to be talking about later.
Right.
It is one of these situations where the industry and analysts are looking at the situation surrounding Ubisoft and are very heavily expecting both layoffs and probably also studio closures, because they have a ton of studios across the world. And there's a lot of expectations that probably some of those ones are going to end up getting closed down.
They have a lot of employees still, right? Like 20,000 plus. And
they have an uncharacteristically large amount of employees for the amount of games that they put out.
I know.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I know some people are like big on Division, like that Blue Number. She's big on it, and so I know she was disappointed by the Heartland. Do you guys excited, or were you guys excited for that, for Heartland, Hargeet and Logan? Were you excited for that mobile game?
Not really.
That's a no, brother.
That's a no. That's a no for me, brother. Hulk Hogan style. I wasn't too excited for the mobile part of it. I'm just not a mobile gamer, but this could have been something big for them, because you look at stuff like Call of Duty and Warzone, right? And you can see that it's possible. So, and it seems like they've been working on this for a while. So it's like, that's a lot of work to just throw away, right?
Yeah, maybe they'll repurpose it, but I think they were going to work on X Defiant, right? That was the idea, was to move them over to X Defiant.
Yeah.
They have a lot of faith in X Defiant, and it, from the outside looking in, feels very unwarranted. Basically, everyone who I've ever heard of who played it was like, "Yeah, this is not it." So I hope they're not putting too many eggs in that basket, because I don't think going to work out for them.
Yeah. Well, good luck to them.
Godspeed.
Yeah.
In other news, PlayStation has announced their new leadership structure. It's not particularly surprising. What they've done is they've gone into sort of a joint CEO situation where Herman Holst, the guy who's been in charge of the studio teams, is still in charge of the studio teams. He's now going to be the CEO of Studio Business Group, which basically is just he's in charge of the first party output as well as the use of first party titles in other mediums like TV and movies. And then Hideaki Nishino is going to be the CEO of Platform Business Group, which is obviously all of the hardware as well as third party games and things like that. Which to me, it feels like using the first party stuff in like TV and whatever should be on the platform side, and the third party stuff should maybe be under Herman Holst, but whatever. I don't really care that much. The important thing of note, though, is that both of them do still answer directly to Hiroki Totoki, which does sort of, in my mind, put a little bit of question into the like, I'm the interim guy, because like he's still very clearly the guy in charge of the whole thing.
Right.
So the money man is still on top. He's still the guy who's going to be making ultimately all of the decisions for PlayStation.
He's their version of Satya, it seems, huh?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, there's still people above him, I think, but yes.
He's kind of their version of Phil with a few less responsibilities. I think that's kind of a more apt way to put it.
Okay, I was going to say they both bald too, and that coincident to him and Satya, but no. Okay, yeah, I guess I can see that. You know, and we had speculation in general about who would be the new CEO, right? And I remember a lot of people, I'm sure, not just myself, but I said Holst at one point, but people pointed out that he didn't really want to do that and he didn't have expertise in that field. So this makes some sense with them having the responsibility split. But also, too, I would ask you guys, Hargeet, like, do you think this could work out? Because having two people in such a position of power, that could be problematic. What do you think about that?
I don't think anything's changed.
No?
So Holst is still doing what he was doing before, and Nishino's doing what he was doing before. I don't think anything's changed. They just gave the titles over. I think maybe a couple of the day-to-day executive responsibilities might have been handed over to Nishino, and Hiroki kind of took a little bit off of his plate. But ultimately, Hiroki has not taken himself out of the CEO of PlayStation, hat. He's still doing it. And so if that's the case, then what has changed? I don't see anything has changed. Right. So we'll see what this really means. I don't know if this means like they get a pay cut, pay increase or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that's all it is. But I don't see a responsibility shift at all. Right.
Okay.
It's, they seem like they're still in the same bloody positions. And it looks like, Matt Booty is Herman, and then, Sarah Bond is, what they've done with Nishino, right? It's literally the same setup, right? And you're like, okay, so what the hell is different here, right? I don't quite see what the heck you've done that's radically changed your structure. You've just named them CEO. Like, so I don't know how long this stays and how long. To me, it sounds like Hiroki just doesn't trust any of them. And
you think
like,
so?
Yo, I'm still vetting everything you're doing because you guys have lost me money and I'm not happy, right? And so I don't care what you guys come up with. I want to see what the hell you're doing and if it's going to make me money.
I see. Well, now, what do you guys thoughts, Logan and Hargeet and Danny? What do you think, though? Because we were speculation with Totoki because he had this more Satya Nadella-like approach on gaming where it seemed, at least, that he would be more open to PlayStation games going multi-plat. Do you think that still is a thing, or will it be changed now?
No, I think
it's yes, because that's why he made him a CEO of his own thing. He is no longer necessarily associated with PlayStation.
Yeah, I could see some games potentially coming over, like a Helldivers, for example, because these games as a service titles, these black hole titles, as Matt Booty calls them, they have this insatiable desire for more numbers and more people to grow, and pump them up and keep the fires churning. And I honestly think that they will break down the barriers and bring some stuff over that may surprise some people eventually.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Helldivers 2 seems like a given. Like, that should happen, I think, not only for those devs, because they deserve it. And I love their philosophy on, like, you could tell, like, it's weird when you're so used to being in the trenches and dealing with fanboys and how they have these narratives, and then you actually listen to a dev and they're like, no, we want everybody to play it. It's like they have a way different take and outlook when it comes to this, and they don't look at it as tribalistic as gamers do. And they seem very much open to the idea. And of course they have tons of references to Halo and everything else in the game, which is what I loved. But yeah, that would be cool. I just wonder, obviously I'm guessing there'll be a multiplayer focused games that they would send first, if anything. Obviously, the
Well,
gas
so
titles.
I would look at it
Yeah.
differently. First thing I think, and this is just me guessing, is I think they're done with the delay of PC. I think PC releases are going to come closer and closer to day and date.
Yep.
Agreed.
And I think this is a restructure to say we're doing that. Just expect that to happen.
Makes sense.
We're not considering them PlayStation anymore. These are Sony studios that are going to be making games that will go multi-plat immediately. We want them on PC because they just I'm sure Hiroki sat there and said, Helldivers did what on PC? Yeah. And why are my games not coming out everywhere?
What was it?
else?
What was it?
Market
12
this
million?
much?
Was it 12 million
Right,
in
you're
2 weeks or
spending-
something like that?
Right, and you're marketing with this much budget, and you're saying you're not going to have that marketed on this side too? Nah, we're doing this day and date. So I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is if I'm looking at the portfolio, there's Xbox Store, but there's that Nintendo Switch at 140 million consoles. And if I could take any of my old catalog and say I can just dump that onto Nintendo Switch, why wouldn't I? Right?
Yeah.
If I could take something like the old Ratchet and Clank that was on PS4 and factor that into Switch, why wouldn't I get 2 million sales for nothing? And it's just $100 million you bank for what? For like $1 million investment? Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah,
right?
you're
There's
right.
plenty of games like Sackboy, right? Knack or what? You can come up with so many games they have. It's like what is it going to cost you? $2 million?
Sackboy and
Put it on
Knack,
Switch.
I think, would do well on, especially on the new one.
Right?
Yeah.
Even if it sells like 500,000, 1 million copies, that's just pure cash you're just putting in your bank.
Mm-hmm.
For what? What does it hurt your brand to put like Sackboy on the Switch? Hell no. And nobody's buying a freaking PlayStation 5 for Sackboy.
True.
Right?
Most
So,
people aren't, I would
it's
say.
just an obvious thing to do. Like the Switch is 140 million consoles. It's still live.
Yeah.
They're still selling it. Just go ahead. I would totally take advantage of that. Why the hell not?
Yeah.
So so that would be the thing I would do. I would say, go get my small games that aren't going to make any consequential difference whatsoever and just throw them over there, right? They're just sitting on the shelf right now. Let me just put them over there. What's the investment? Like 300K to put this on Switch? Please do it.
Yeah.
Get money.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I mean, one of the things, too, people were floating out there, like maybe a year or 6 months, like as we become accustomed to for exclusivity, and then you put it elsewhere, right? They could do that, too, as far as, putting it on other platforms outside of PC. I think PC should just be a day and date. I think they need to get over that. And I've said, and I know other people have said it, too, I think next year, for sure, I think I said around Wolverine release, that would be probably the first thing that's day and date. But I can see next year being for sure a turn of events for Sony. It might be this year for all we know with the success of Helldivers.
Well, the
I
next
think
few
it's,
games are Concord or something like that, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
They're all multi-plats to begin with. They're going to be day and date PC anyway.
Well, and we know things like Marathon are launching day and date on Xbox anyway. So I wouldn't even be surprised if things like Concord or whatever, Fair Games, whatever the other one is, if those come over to Xbox pretty shortly after launch too, just because like these big live service games need as big of a player base as possible. I really do think that it's going to be a thing where like they'll probably be in some ways faster and in some ways slower than how Xbox has been doing it, but I think that they're probably looking at the money that Xbox is making, putting like specifically Sea of Thieves on PlayStation and being like, we could do that too. Like we could definitely make that money. I don't necessarily think that it'll be like, 6 months after God of War 3 comes out, it's coming to Xbox. Like I don't necessarily see that happening, but I don't see any reason why they wouldn't put like PS4 titles on Xbox or, just like second party things. We talked about how Helldivers is basically a shoe-in. We've talked about how like Spider-Man maybe, because they can make the excuse of like, oh, Marvel wanted us to do it or whatever. Like there's a lot of excuses they can make while secretly just actually wanting to make the money off of putting it on more platforms. You know what I mean? And if they can, they will. Hiroki Totoki specifically will.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can see that for sure. I wanted to make one correction. Don Otaku pointed out in the chat. Thank you. Don, he was saying that Heartland wasn't a mobile game. I made a mistake and said it was mobile. It was a free to play version of the Division. So yeah. But you're right. I think Hargeet said they're probably repurposing it. If it's not that, you can definitely, since it's not mobile, I could definitely see them using it maybe for, a future actual full Division release. That's possible. Yeah,
And I think they mentioned that, right? That they're still working on the next division. I think they said
mm,
that.
I believe so. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't. It's one of their cash cows. So, yeah. Actually, I actually have a fondness for the division. I think they do a good job with those overall. I would want them to kind of expand on the story a bit more because you can see it's geared obviously for multiplayer and microtransactions, things of that nature. But if they really, really put a major focus on the story and campaign, like a Call of Duty esque kind of thing, because they have the setting for it. If they really just focused on it, I think I would really be into that world more so than anything else. But yeah, thanks again, Don. But what else did we have, Danny?
Just a couple more things. Just two actually. One I don't think we'll have anything to say about is they're making a Tomb Raider show. There's going to be a Tomb Raider show. The Embracer Group, I guess, wants to make some more money off that IP.
Yeah.
So they're real fair.
Yeah, that
I guess
was
it's not the
greenlit a
Embracer
while
Group
ago,
anymore. It's
wasn't
the.
it?
Sorry, do what?
That was greenlit a while ago, right?
I think
Or
it
was that something else?
I think it was rumored a while ago, maybe, and
Okay.
it's just like officially confirmed now or something, or like they found the writer for it because it's gonna be God, I forget her name, but the lady who was she's in Dial of Destiny, the new Indiana Jones. She's the
Phoebe
daughter or niece or
something.
whatever
She's from
character.
something like
Fleabag.
that. Phoebe's,
Yeah.
What was her name?
So
Whatever it is,
she's written a bunch of stuff before. She wrote one of the 007 movies. So she's producing it and I think also writing it. But Phoebe Waller-Bridge, thanks Donna Tucker.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Okay.
So she does have sort of a track record of doing decent things in terms of writing. I know Dial of Destiny is probably not the thing that she wants to hang her hat on, but she just was an actor in that as far as I'm aware. But yeah, so she's making this and it's happening, I guess. I don't know. It really does feel like it's just I guess it's not Embracer Group anymore. It's what is it? Coffee Stain and Friends, or no, it's the Middle Earth and Friends, who has the Crystal Dynamics. I guess it's them trying to make a little bit of quick money off that license. So,
okay.
And
There we
they're
go.
funding. Amazon was funding their Tomb Raider game too, right? I think.
Probably, yeah, that would make
I
sense.
think that's the case, and that's why I remember them being able to do some I thought they were doing some movie or TV thing with Tomb Raider, but yeah.
Yeah. So she's the writer for it. Let's see. And she did some notable films that people would know. Solo, she was part of that. No Time to Die, James Bond, Indiana Jones, like you said. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I got nothing but love for Lara Croft, so hopefully it's really solid. Yeah, and I'm guessing they'll have it in time, possibly to help hype up the new. I don't know. Is it a reboot they're doing for the Tomb Raider, or?
I don't know if that's confirmed, but it
Yeah.
feels like probably the case.
It feels like it, right? Yeah. I love the direction they were going with these newer ones, though. I wish they would have kind of stayed with it, but I guess they kind of this had its time in the sun. I suppose it's probably time to move forward with a new direction. But I thought those games were excellent. I thought they were better than the Uncharted series, personally.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, they were definitely more different. That was always my problem with the Uncharted games, is I feel like they were all kind of the same game with just in different settings.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Tomb Raider felt different between them. Although to be fair, I didn't play the third one, so maybe the third one was bad. I have no idea.
Yeah. I actually didn't play much of it either. I played a bit. I didn't get too far into it, but love the other ones. But what else did we have?
Last thing I have here is there's a new studio being formed by Jake Solomon, who was the designer for Midnight Suns and XCOM. So he's a big Firaxis guy. The studio is called Midsummer Studios, and not to be confused with Midsummer, the horror movie. And they are currently working on a life sim game, which is the same genre as The Sims, and does have some people coming over from Maxis, the Sim studio, to work on it. So it's an interesting thing to be like, oh, this guy who made these games I liked, or at least XCOM I liked, is making a new studio. He's going to make more things like that. And it's like, nope, psych, we're doing The Sims. So,
Yeah.
cool, dude. Thanks.
Yeah.
But it is good that, he's creating a place for all the thousands of people who've been laid off to potentially find work. That's cool. I'm happy for that, at least.
Yeah, there is a positive there, at least. Yep. Does that it for the news roundup for us?
That's all I got.
News roundup. Okay, I'm sorry. We have to. I gotta come up with an official enter and exit for that. Anyway, so let's move to the major topics, guys, and we'll start with Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm gonna play the trailer, I suppose. Why not? You know what? Will I get a copyright strike if I let the audio play?
I have no idea.
I wonder. I'll risk it.
Who are you?
The Cocoon gameplay.
Who do you serve?
It would help if I actually transitioned it, like, you know.
Yeah. It'd probably be a good idea.
Yeah.
There we go.
Who are you? Who do you serve?
All I have ever known in my life. Our land. Our customs. My family. Burns in the name of unification.
You are still a frog in a well who knows nothing of the sea. The ocean's filled with new ships, but they all come from the same river. Greed. Power.
My boy.
Vengeance.
And you? Will you continue down that river? Or choose another path beyond what we see?
And we must look for it together.
Would you be more hyped for this if Yasuke had the
We
Miles
must
Morales
learn to
haircut?
trust.
You know, I think that would actually deflate all of my hype. I think I would lose 100% interest immediately.
I just saw him take the helmet off and I was like, nah, that should have been the Miles Morales haircut. Missed opportunity.
Okay, I'll mute that part since there's some music going on. That sounds too... Okay, there we go.
I think it's pretty much the end anyway.
We are the shadows.
That served the light.
There we go.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. November 15th of this year. Man, I was blown away, man. I thought it would look really good. Now, I'm in a particularly bad spot, though, because I am too far behind, and I don't like to jump ahead. So I'm at Unity. I need to get through all these other games before I can even feel like playing this.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You should probably just skip.
Just skip ahead.
You should probably just skip. That's a lot of time. And
Yeah.
honestly, a lot of those games, especially like Valhalla,
Yeah.
real long, probably not worth the time commitment. I would just skip straight to it.
I heard Valhalla and I heard Odyssey was pretty crazy.
Odyssey's
too.
long, but
Yeah.
Odyssey is worth the time. Valhalla, in my opinion, was not.
Yeah. Okay. What about you guys, Logan? What was your takeaway from this? Were you impressed by the trailer? Did you need to see gameplay to get hyped? What was it for you?
I'm all about samurai and Japan and all that, and it looks right up my alley. Like, I'll be honest, I've been kind of burnt out on Assassin's Creed for a while.
Yeah.
It kind of they started just kind of becoming just bloated, soulless husk type games a little bit to me personally.
Yeah.
I like the last one I was really, really into was Black Flag. I just adored that one.
My all-time
And
favorite. My all-time favorite in
yeah,
the franchise.
I mean Black Flag, and then like the original more kind of narrow focused, like the first one, going around through the Holy Land, or and the second one you're going through Florence and you're like at the Vatican, and just like I don't know, it just the whole vibes and just way Assassin's Creed was changed dramatically, and I like the idea of this, and yeah, sign me up. This one looks cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. What about you, Hargeet? What was your takeaway? Did this impress you, or did you need to see gameplay?
Um, so I have been very disappointed in Assassin's Creed's lineage after, I'd say probably Unity, but like, so Syndicate was okay.
Okay.
I did finish that one. Origins was, at least it was Origins, so I understood, hey, it was tied to Assassin's Creed. Odyssey was 100% not attached to Assassin's Creed. It just happened to be named Assassin's Creed, and then they tried to tie it in with some like DLC stuff. And I'm like, okay, like, okay, I enjoyed the game, but I'm like, then why is it Assassin's Creed? And then Valhalla just killed it. I'm like so not hyped for Assassin's Creed anymore. Like, Valhalla was so shit that I couldn't even stand playing it anymore.
Damn.
I just could not take how much they destroyed it.
Yeah.
That protagonist was so terrible, so
I mean,
terrible.
since
Like,
we're being
so,
honest, I mean, it was.
The-
and so like I have zero hype for this game because it's in that same vein,
Oh,
and I don't know what it's gonna do about being assassins,
right.
right? And these are like direct historical figures now, and I'm like,
yeah,
dude,
both of them.
the point of Assassin's Creed was you never knew these people. They were working in the shadows to change what was happening. That
Yeah.
was the whole point. And it's so deviated from that,
Yeah.
right? Mirage was awesome. I'm like, that's what I want. Please make more of those. I'm
Okay.
so done with these 500-hour ridiculous games. Like, no. Go back to Mirage. That was just the right amount of game, and it was still Assassin's Creed. You're in the actual Creed.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing to do here, and I'm like, it's just more and more going away from. And it's, I get what they want to do. They just want to have an excuse to make a game in a different historical setting, which is awesome. But just like Episode 8 of Star Wars,
Yeah.
that would have been fine as a non-Star Wars movie, but it was a Star Wars movie, and then it fucked it up.
Yeah.
And so like, this is the same thing for me. It's like, why are you doing this? If you want to make it Assassin's Creed, make it Assassin's Creed. If you just want to make a game that focuses, like say Ghost of Tsushima, focuses on, Japanese history, fair enough. Go make that game. That's totally fine. But I'm kind of just done with these multi-100-hour ridiculous things that they're gonna. Like, I don't know if I have any interest at all.
So
my enthusiasm
yeah.
for it is zero.
So for you,
Zero.
you'd rather them just make a new IP with it. You're saying don't make it Assassin's Creed.
Exactly.
I got you. Yeah.
And that's totally fine. And I think they do awesome jobs with that. But just make them distinct games that have nothing to do with Assassin's Creed, right? Because I want that Assassin's Creed game where I'm part of the Creed and I'm doing things in the background and nefarious and like changing things and interacting with real, actual characters of history, right? But not in the foreground in any way.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm looking for. And they kind of deviated with that a little bit in Syndicate, here and there in the other ones, but mostly it was the Ezio trilogy was like the best, right? It was all
Those
back,
were
it was
great.
all perfect.
Yeah.
It was the best of what they did with it. Black Flag was possibly the best game they had.
Love it.
And then they kind of just went crazy. And I haven't really been that enthusiastic about these until Mirage came along. And I'm like, this is perfect. Yes, go back to this.
So for you, it's like
I didn't play Mirage.
it's a time consuming thing, and you want them to kind of just stay focused to what the IP was the original intent of the IP. You're saying basically.
Yeah, I mean, I probably sunk like what is it, like 200 hours or something ridiculous
Into
into
Valhalla.
a Valhalla to
Yeah.
try to finish it. And I'm
It's a
like,
long
dude,
game.
I
And
see.
it goes
It's
some
too
really stupid
much.
places, which
I-
is I think
yeah,
that's my biggest worry for this one is I don't agree completely with the like it should just be a different IP thing,
Mhm.
but when you look at what they did, so I guess spoilers kind of for Valhalla if anyone cares, tell me to shut up, but whatever. By the end of Valhalla, you're going to Asgard, you're meeting gods, you're doing all of this like crazy shit,
Yeah.
and like to the point where one of the characters that you meet is Loki. Like he does literally the same Atreus thing where it's like, oh hey, actually I'm Loki. And it's really dumb, and then he like shows up in the modern time, and like there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the like necessity for this to still be related to Templars and Animuses and all that stuff
Mhm.
that makes it very stupid by the end of that game.
I see.
And
Exactly.
I do worry that they'll do that with this game. Although to be fair, I didn't play Mirage, so I don't know what they do with it. But by the end of Valhalla, I guess I won't. Well, whatever. It seems like the story of like the modern day stuff is kind of done. Like they could continue it, but like that character that you've been playing as in the modern time period is done, and like I don't know where they would go with it necessarily.
Yeah.
I guess if I had played Mirage, maybe they explain it, but I don't know. So yeah, I am concerned about it on that front. There is some baggage I feel also that comes with the decision to make both of the main characters well, Yasuke is a real historical figure, and then Naoi, however you pronounce that, is like a fictional, I think, daughter of a real historical figure. And I think there's certain baggage that comes with that decision.
Yeah. I can
Where
kinda
like
see that.
the second that you make your main character Yasuke, I know how this game ends. You know what I mean?
That to be fair, nobody actually knows what happened with Yasuke at the end. Like they
No,
just,
but
yeah.
I know where the game is gonna end.
Right.
I know it's gonna
Nobunaga,
end with
yeah.
with Nobunaga's castle burning down.
Pretty
That's gonna be
much.
the last stage of the game.
yeah.
I can see
Because
that.
they're not gonna. Because the only thing that happens past that in real history is that like Hideyoshi becomes not really emperor, but kind of emperor, and he like takes over.
Well, the daimyo, as
and,
they
like,
say, they call it the daimyo.
No, daimyo is like a smaller position. He becomes, I think he ends up like creating a new fake name for it, but then he's not allowed to become the actual emperor because you have to be part of a certain bloodline to become emperor. And so then he's like, oh, we'll expand to Japan and I'll like take over. I think he originally was going to take over China and then decided that that wasn't going to work out. So he's like, I'll invade Korea a bunch of times because if I can make Japan a different country by expansion, then I can become the emperor.
So basically, he was Japanese Trump back then. Basically,
a little bit.
I see.
Yeah.
He's bad.
More like Putin, I guess,
Yeah,
but more charismatic.
Charismatic Putin.
Yeah. So there's a lot of baggage that comes with that. Like the Sengoku period of Japan is a very interesting period to me. So I know a lot already about what happens there. And so for me personally playing this game, it's going to be like, there's that guy. There's Mitsuhide. There's Ranmaru. There's Toyotomi. There's like here are those characters.
Right.
And I'll be interested to see how much they toe the line of it, because specifically Sengoku era Japan, like the history of that time period has been conflated so heavily to make it like this big fantastical
romance,
thing where
romantic
thing. Where like Nobunaga is the demon king and like Yukimura Sanada is the most powerful warrior that's ever existed, and there's like all this crazy shit. And you could definitely lean into that because of the the Assassin's Creed of it all, where you can be like, oh, they had the apples of Eden or whatever. I don't fucking whatever that.
I'm sure they'll play into it, at some point
for sure.
Yeah.
I do think it's an interesting choice. Making a game where you play as Yasuke is a cool decision. I really want that game. I don't know that necessarily it makes a ton of sense for it to be an Assassin's Creed game in particular. And I guess maybe that's also why they've included Naoi as a second player character, because you're switching back and forth.
Right.
And I almost wonder if the decision was like, we should have you play as Yasuke, and they're like, part of this game is stealth. There's no way a 6 foot tall only black guy in the country is gonna blend in. It's not gonna happen.
You don't look this way. I'm stealthing right now.
Yeah, he's got like his hands over his face and he's hiding behind a tree that's not as wide as him because he's built like a shit house. But
Right.
Yeah. So I do wonder. I don't know. There's some interesting like historical things that they're playing with here. There's been obviously all the issues that people have been bringing up about them not wanting Yasuke as a player character, and I don't agree with almost any of them. I think most of them are just your usual suspects being like, I want to play a white guy.
Pretty much. Now I wanted to get into
a
that.
white guy in Japan. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Listen, now I wanted to get
Same as a
into
black guy
that.
in Japan. I think both of them are interesting choices, but like
Absolutely, but at the very
Yeah.
least, Yasuke has historical relevance.
He's a real character. He's a real
Exactly.
person.
Yeah.
I should say.
Yep.
Now, so I wanted to get to some of the details
Yeah.
of this. And get to that point because that has been a point of the contention right here, and it's been a bit of controversy. I want to share it with the audience and you guys. So let me go into the details really quick. So Assassin's Creed Shadows details. New gen only. Current gen is using the updated Anvil engine. It takes place in feudal Japan in the year 1579 during the Azuchi Momoyama period. The time period sees a range of activity including Portuguese merchants, legions of samurai, shinobi, Jesuit missionaries, etc. Large open world as big as Assassin's Creed Origins. Now, I haven't played Assassin's Creed Origins, so can you guys tell me like how big was that map compared to a Valhalla or to an old Odyssey?
It's the smaller of the three.
Okay.
Size-wise, I think that's a good size for a game like this. I hope that the map is more full than Origins was, because I mean it was in Egypt, so there's a lot of just like desert.
Yeah.
It was still beautiful. Like I love Origins.
Okay.
But I think they're gonna have a lot more fun with this map.
Yeah, it seems like. I mean, Japanese setting in general for me is always great. I don't know, maybe I'm a bit of an otaku, as they would say, because I love Don. You're not the only otaku. And he says, remember, this isn't the first time we've played a historical character in AC before with Syndicate, Jack the Ripper. That's right. I remember that DLC.
Oh yeah,
I didn't play it,
but
but I
Jack the
remember
Ripper
it.
is also like that's kind of more of a gray area, I guess, because at the end of at the end of that DLC, it's like, oh, is he really that? Is this like a fake thing?
Oh,
for
it's
the Animus?
ambiguous.
And it's like
I
there's
see.
a lot of
Yeah, it is
stuff
ambiguous,
like that.
but you can but they are trying to at least lead into it a bit, right?
Yeah.
I
But
see.
again, that is not a character that you can necessarily say
Leaz.
is in the limelight, right? This is somebody that we don't understand, don't know, right? But we just know somebody was killing all these women.
Right. Okay.
So
So about the same size as Origins, it says the map plays two protagonists, obviously Yasuke and Naoe. Now I think it's Naoe.
I've been saying Naui. I don't know if that's correct.
I think it's Naoe. Like Naoe. There are set personal quests where you play as one or the other, but you can freely switch between both in the open world during objectives, kind of like GTA 5, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's cool. Yasuke is a real historical figure, obviously, who was brought to Japan by a Jesuit missionary and then became a samurai, served Oda Nobunaga, which is true. He was a retainer to him, and a retainer was a samurai, because people were like, oh, he was a retainer, not a samurai. They are one and the same.
Yeah, that's just, it's not necessarily one and the same, but they're not, like, being a retainer doesn't stop you from being a samurai.
That too. And also, too, is this a video I have queued up. Being a retainer, especially one that he was for Oda, where he held his weapons, was a higher position than other samurai. So he was actually in a high ranking.
He was very highly respected. I think a lot of it, just knowing the character of Nobunaga, is probably just because he was very strong.
True. And he's
loyal.
right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's right. And it will give it to somebody who's very loyal and they did trust to have their weapons. That's very true as well.
Yeah.
Naoe is an agile shinobi who likes stealth but knows how to fight. Can use a grappling hook to traverse the environments. I like that. Physics based, so it can be improbable. Did they mean improvisable? Like you can improvise?
Yeah, maybe.
Is improbable the word for that? When you want? I don't think. Okay. Anyway,
I don't think so.
neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. Yasuke's fighting style is more head-on direct combat with parries, breaking enemy armor plates, decapitation finishers, etc. I like that. Now it uses a let me say this right. Kusarigami. Am I saying this right? A kusarigami, a chain that can whip around and keep enemies at bay. I know the weapon, I just can't say it right. A kasuragami. That's the best way. A kasuragami. The team pushed on more destructibility and sliceable objects, with damage realistically replacing from swords from slices, arrow puncturing marks, etc. That sounds cool. Enemies can now be knocked out if players want more pacifist playthrough. That's cool. It brings you to mind of like the Metal Gear Solids and the Splinter Cells when I think of stuff like that. Players can now go prone. That adds to that right there. Prone to sneak around. Fully dynamic lighting system illuminated by sunlight, torches, lanterns, etc. The game progresses through 4 different seasons, spring, summer, fall, and winter. Each season brings with it environmental and gameplay changes. So I don't want to read the details, but they all seasons add different elements of what you can do and hide in between them. Hide in the shadows to escape enemies and take out light sources to evade detection, a la Splinter Cell. There we go. Create a customizable hideout, so that's cool. You get to grow into your own Shinobi League, craft new gear, etc. Huge castles that act as significant landmarks throughout the open world that act as dungeons. Cool. I want it to be a little more open with how you complete objectives, can tackle assassination targets in any order. There are no more synchronization points that reveal all the points of interest on the map. Instead, they act as high vantage points that let you look and discover them yourself. Here are some of the screenshots for it. Yasuke in all his glory. Naoe plotting. There she is again, snowy. All right, it's looking good, man. I think that's an piece of artwork. But yeah, that looks really good. Really excited actually for this. It's been a while for me to be on any Assassin's Creed game. So let me get to some of the other discourse. Now we had this here posted, of course, in Insider Gaming, the Assassin's Creed Shadows Collector's Edition. Do any of you guys buy any of these major collectors item games like this, or pieces rather, with the statues? And I feel like I'm like the only one that doesn't do that.
I've done it in the past. I definitely won't do it for this one because that statue just looks, to me personally, kind of cheap.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've done it in the past for a couple other things, but I think maybe I'm done with that period of my life.
So it retails at $240, and I'm guessing plus tax. Yeah, not my thing. I think it looks cool, but it's just not for me. What about you guys? Logan, is this up your alley, brother?
I love collector's editions, but this one's not my thing. Like, if I can get a Master Chief helmet or a lightsaber or something really, hardcore and different, but kind of a generic-y statue that looks like, you can get it on sale not too long down the road, like, I'll pass on that.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, Don was saying it's Naoe. Okay, so I was kind of close. Naoe. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as collectors, I generally don't, but I have gotten a few of them. So I don't know if it was Halo, I think it was 5, which had that big, like, I don't know, archway with the 2, like, Locke and Master Chief. So I have that. And then I got the Starfield, like the case, the watch.
Oh yeah.
So I got that.
Okay. You ever take the watch out yet and use it?
No, I kind of kept everything inside. I just left it the way it is.
Nice.
Like kind of a collector's type thing, right? So
yeah,
just left it as is. But yeah, I rarely do. I'll get the Ultimate Edition of games though. That I'll do.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the Ubisoft thing, I'm subscribed to Ubisoft Plus, so I will get access to this game with Ultimate Edition anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot you are. That's right. Yeah. No, yeah, I get it. I was going to say, Hargeet, you should probably, well, I ain't going to say what you should do, but it'd be cool if you featured your, like, collectibles. I know Danny does it when he goes on camera, his collection and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, so past this, we had a bit of controversy. So let me highlight it. One of the morons and the grifters out there, we've talked about this fool before, with respect to whomever feels a way about this guy, I don't care for him. I think he's made discourse in gaming far, far worse and more toxic than it needs to be. Grums, ladies and gentlemen, this fool has 160.6 thousand followers now. Ridiculous. Now, I remember when he first started up, people were just mocking him for the fool he was because they saw right through him. Well, apparently some people are being tricked now. They haven't seen through this, and they've fallen for the grift. Now he shares a lot of things on his timeline. One is Endymion, who Endymion, to his credit, I think he's made some videos where I may have agreed to certain points I didn't care for, where I felt were maybe agendas being pushed in certain things. But then you start watching more of Endymion, and then you realize, okay, everything your videos are about is only about anything that you can use to your audience to say, hey, they censored this, or they changed this, or they're taking this away from you. And I'm like, okay, this brother's a grifter too. So I'm going to be honest. I don't think he's as bad as Grums, and I think he has made good points. But I think Endymion, it falls into that camp. So Grums is sharing a lot of nonsense on his timeline, and you can see a lot of people on there saying all types of negatives. He's saying it makes no sense we're going to be in here, and if you go through it, there goes the DEI. Look, DEI, Activision DEI League Plus. That's the type of thing he's been on. And then he talks about the hypocrisy in game journalists and such. I'm sure there are. Then he's saying, oh, this writer changed this and things of that nature. So it's been things of that where people have turned this into, oh, you got to be historically accurate. He was not really a samurai. He was a slave he was just a toy for Nobunaga.
I mean, how do we really know? Like, we don't have exact historical records, right?
Exactly.
So,
well, that's one.
Very well be, and like the whole point of Assassin's Creed is hidden abilities, right?
Right.
So that's a bunch of baloney anyway. Like,
it is, and again, it's a non-fictional story. Now they might use historical figures in it, and that's where I can see it getting murky for some, where they're like, well, they use this real person, but it's a non-fictional setting, or story rather, where they have the freedom to create what they want with that. And again, what happens to him after, and here's another one, Ian Miles Chung. What happened to him after Nobunaga is a mystery. Nobody knows. So there's leeway for them to go and use the elements of him in his story and change it up. And by the way, for those who didn't know, Yasuke is actually fairly well respected in Japanese culture over there. Like it's actually, and I'm going to show that in a second, but it was actually surprising and refreshing to see that a lot of the ignorance and hate we're seeing from this is really coming from the typical grifters and the American side of things. Not all of them, because like this clown here is not an American, but he always speaks on American politics and such like that, as I'm sure you remember, Danny. Ian Michaels Chung here. And he's a grifter himself. Now look what he put there. We was samurai, of course, which is a racist take on we was kings, which black people were kings back then, but okay. But it's a thing they use to mock black people. We was kings, right? And it's the thing they use. And of course he has it highlighted there. He made a little article that I wouldn't dare waste my time on. But you have these types of grifters here who have turned discourse of gaming where you can, even if somebody felt the way and they personally disagreed and said, I don't like this change, I could understand that. But when you turn it into a racial, and you see the one with Steve Harvey, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the Steve Harvey.
Yeah. Now, I admittedly, I did laugh a little bit to that image because it's like, what's Steve Harvey? What your ass, right? Survey says. But it's just.
Oh my God.
He's so good at that one, though, right? He's really good at that.
He's hilarious at it.
But anyway.
But like, I think it's something to say because like, I'm so used to racial reactions to anything with us in it that I'm not even offended like anymore. I'm just like annoyed. It doesn't like make me like, oh, they said this. I'm not like a snowflake about it. I'm just like, oh, when would we get past this? Why do we have to keep going back to this? You know what I mean? And my bigger problem, so this guy here, he's actually black, or at least he seems to be black. I don't know if he's using some fake, whatever. I think he's a real black guy. But so his name here, I forgot his name. Oh, there it is, Kaida. I don't know. He's nobody. Most people have been mocking him, obviously. He says, playing an actual Japanese Assassin's Creed game, come through if you want. And he's talking about, I'm guessing, Ghost of Tsushima, I'm going to guess. But he puts this here and he says, We was samurai and shit. Cuh. Yeah. 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 So
Thanks, I hate it.
these are the things we see. And as you can see, some people have started mocking him for the sellout tap dancer he is. And like I said, at the point you can see when somebody's grifting. That's the problem I have with it. If you were genuinely feeling like, hey, I would have preferred an actual Japanese protagonist outside of Naoe, okay, I can understand that. But when you start turning it into a racial thing, that's when I get a problem. I have a problem with like, well, they should just stick to this. But you all didn't say that when it was Neo. You all didn't say that when you've had Yasuke in other games.
Stupid.
Yeah, you've had Yasuke. This is not the first game he's been in. He's been in Samurai. What was it? Samurai Warriors 5. I think he's been in a lot.
Yeah, he was weirdly like just added in 5. There's a lot of Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors games, and he only just got added in 5, which is a reboot even. So
exactly, and it's exactly done. It's always this Grums guy. Always. That's why you could tell that it's it's a grift. It's always him playing up to that, and people fall for it every time. And yeah, see, look, like C4 Skill said, nobody made us think when it was Tom Cruise playing The Last Samurai. Like
people did.
I'm gonna say I'll take that
same
back.
thing, though.
I'll take that
I think
back.
I definitely heard people being
Some
upset.
people did make
That was pretty stupid though. To be fair,
yeah. To be fair,
Like,
some
if-
people did make a
wasn't
fuss.
The Last Samurai, and it's the same kind of thing as like just saying, look, within context, it's fine. You just have to there are going to be people who might like it, but the Last Samurai was a Japanese guy,
Yeah.
and he was just there chronicling what he saw.
Ah, I
and
see.
that was relaying the story back to the Western world of this is what the Last Samurai went through.
yeah,
When the emperor had to convert over to an open, with the U.S. right, or whatever,
Mhm.
and so that was what that was. But either way, it can certainly piss people off, but they're the wrong thing. Like, you just give it a chance, right? And
Yeah.
I think this is the same thing here. What I'm finding, is like, yes, there was a little too much swing to one direction on the woke it's done stuff, right? Fine.
Mhm.
But it's always an unfortunate that it's going to swing way too much on the other side.
Yep.
Like, this is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with this. Yes, to your point, Umbra, that it might be cool to have a male, Japanese protagonist along with it, and maybe just have 3 or 4 people, whatever, right? And
Yeah.
you can choose as
They
you go
could do
along,
that. Yeah.
right? But there's nothing wrong with the historical figure being in there. Like, this person was actually there. Right? Like,
Yeah.
There's no reason to say that this is just woke. Like, no, this is an actual historical piece, and that person was actually there.
And he
So
was an
it's
actual
actually the other person
samurai.
that wasn't really there.
Yeah, to me, I feel like I get I get that argument if they say, "Hey, we wanted this." If they say that, I'm like, okay, I can definitely get that, especially somebody Japanese. But I most of the people I'm seeing complain about it are not Japanese. 1, 2, they had no problem with other issues, such as again with Neo, with the white protagonist being a samurai. Now, so this lady here, Fujikake, what was her name? Fujikake, she says she's actually a descendant. Now, let me read this. She says the Yasuke was a retainer, so he wasn't a samurai. Argument makes me roll my eyes so much. I'm a descendant from Fujikake Nagakatsu, who was a retainer of Oda Nobunaga, aka absolutely a samurai. Why are people like this? Somebody asked her such and such. She said, yes, it starts with an R. Oh, there's some images of her, I guess, in her kimono. All right, I see you. Is that a Pokeball? She had a Pokeball in her hand, didn't she?
no, it's
Oh, it's like a little.
not a kendama. There's a name for it,
Okay.
but it's just a ball.
Okay.
And by the way, Yasuke is in Neo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. He is in that.
I think he's like a summon or a boss or something.
Yeah. You got like
Yeah,
a
he's
big
one of the
X or
Maybe
something
both.
like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember he had a bear. I
Yeah,
don't
something
remember
like
much
that.
about those games.
Something like that. So, okay, so now she's an actual descendant of one of the retainers of Nobunaga. So she's saying this, and okay, so that's one example. So you got some pushback. Another Japanese person, I'm not sure who this is exactly. Now, this is what he says. Yasuke has been featured a lot in fiction, so I thought it would be well known, but maybe he's actually quite unknown. It says during the Sengoku period, he was sent to Japan as a slave. His black skin was unusual. He was taken in by Nobunaga. He was given a name and became a samurai. He was a candidate for Castle Lord. He was on Nobunaga's side during the Hinoji incident. He was overlooked by Akichi Mitsuhide. His whereabouts are unknown after that. It's such a romantic story. No wonder he's the main character. And these are some depictions of him right here. This one, obviously, to the left, far top left, is from Samurai Warriors. This is the anime right under that, and other, and there's the one obvious to bottom, not second from the bottom right, is the one from Neo. So yeah, you have depictions of him, and they seem to be pretty accepting, which is again, it was surprising seeing the reaction from people over here unaffected. Now, shout out to Nib here, my brother Nib on Twitter. He made a great post, and he said after years of constant whitewashing, which let's just be real, we know tons of whitewashing in movies from all around, right?
Yeah.
Many of the same folk who stayed quiet are now only piping up the challenge when his black characters getting similar treatment. Rules for thee, but not for me. He said whitewash film list, and he has an entire
also
list.
It's not even similar treatment because he was just a black guy.
Yeah, right.
He's just a black guy who was there.
Right.
But whatever.
And he posted an entire list of different whitewashing characters. I'm not going to go through them all, but you all can see that here's a lot.
It's happened 100 times.
It happened a lot, and I think we've just kind of become accustomed to it. Yeah. And he shows some images of them, is obvious, and pretty clear, obvious references. But yeah, so my biggest thing
that I always point out, Umbra, is I know it's stupid, but whatever. On in Star Trek they had the Wrath of Khan, right?
Yeah.
And Khan is Khan Noonien Singh. He's a Sikh like me, right? And so I get in the 1960s it's a crowded Montalban because they can't find an Indian actor. Fine, fair enough, right. When they rebooted it, they had zero reason not to find an Indian actor. Zero. There are Indian actors in Hollywood.
Yeah.
There are actors in Bollywood named Khan, for fuck's sake. They could find any one of them. But no. They find the milkiest, whitest, sour cream white guy named Cumberbatch, and who's a great actor. I get that.
Yeah.
To play an Indian. Really?
Yeah.
I thought
he was in the remake. Yeah, in the reboot or whatever.
Who did Idris Elba play? Or who was that in the second one? That movie was bad.
I can't remember.
That movie was really bad.
I can't remember too much of it, but I do remember the one with Khan, and that was Cumberbatch.
I'm like, come on.
Yeah. Khan! So wait. Hargeet, are you a Trekkie?
I am, yes.
What?
Oh, Krell.
I didn't know.
So I to be honest, I haven't watched any of the new stuff. I love the older ones, right? So Next Gen and
okay.
They had the Enterprise with
Patrick
Scott
Stewart.
Bakula, I think that was his name.
Oh,
right?
okay.
And then the Next Gen, right? I love Next Gen.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those, and Voyager was okay, and they had Deep Space Nine and stuff like that. So those were all great.
I saw a bit of Deep Space Nine, and I've watched a bit of the New Generation with Patrick Stewart and stuff like that. Whoopi Goldberg and all of them in it. Yeah. All right. Finding out new things. Logan, What about you, Logan? What's your take on this right here? And we do have to move on, but I just wanted to highlight these things. And here's another video on it talking about it. But what was your take on this, Logan? Like, as far as the controversy, did it surprise you? Or are you tired of hearing about this narrative as well with the whole, us against them thing?
Yeah, it's such a tired narrative. I mean, just like good characters are good characters, focus on writing and like all this stuff and like just I don't know, and like there's historical precedent even for it's just the whole thing is nonsense, and it's obvious the types who are pressing and pushing this stuff and angry about it, and just they're trying to spin up trouble, and they sadly get a lot of attention, and it's a bummer, but they just their voices are getting heard, and so a lot of people have to deal with flack about it, which is unfortunate. And
yeah,
I have no problem with this their move to do this. Like, I understand historically there may be some like, well, does it 100% fit here or there? But it's like there's precedent, there's historical documentation of things like samurai of this way, like all this stuff. It's just it's a whole bunch of nothing, and I think it's just, again, the gaming community really latches on to things for some reason and just tries to make a mountain out of a molehill and just.
I wish it were just gaming. It's everything. Dude.
Right.
I know it's just. I don't know. I meant just in what I've seen recently for pop culture stuff. It's just. It's been obnoxious, and I wish people would just focus on if they like a game or they like the actors, actresses, stuff, and quit trying to make problems where there aren't problems.
Quit making mountains out of a molehill, as the old saying goes, right?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man. It's like you guys said, it's everything but gaming now. And it's because a lot of these people get in there with their agendas and the grift, and they've pushed this, and they've made people like pick a side essentially. And it's so unnecessary. It's like gaming is supposed to be an escape. Why do you need it to be this thing now?
So Umbra, it's in this case, it's actually kind of a more interesting one, right? If this was like the first time you're visiting some area of the world, it'd be one thing. We actually have Japanese games, right?
Yeah.
We have developers there, so thankfully we have plenty of protagonists that are Japanese. Not to mention, we just had a game like this with Ghost of Tsushima that gave us a Japanese protagonist during a war, right? It's kind of same era, right? So, it's not the end of the world. This is just a different story in a region that thankfully we do actually have a lot of games in, right? There's a lot of content coming from Japan that does depict their own history, which is awesome, right? But so it's not the end of the world to see this specific character being a protagonist. So it would have been different if this is the first time we had a Japanese game, right? It is not, by far. We have so many, thank God, we have so many studios over there making games, not to mention other studios have made games in Japan too, in the setting of Japan. So I don't see this being that big of a deal. This is a historical character. This is just part of the Japanese history. I don't see the
to be fair, that's not even the argument I've been hearing though, because like if the argument was, I don't know, coming from Japanese people or something, and they were saying like, oh, we finally got a Japanese Assassin's Creed game, like you finally did the thing everyone wanted, and the main character is the one guy who was there at the time that wasn't Japanese, like I could understand them feeling some kind of way about that, because as far as I'm aware, the only Asian protagonist of Assassin's Creed game we've gotten was the one from China's Chronicles or whatever, which is like, do we count that? So like I could see that. I don't know that I would really put too much weight into it, but like I could see people feeling a way about that. But that's not even the argument that we're seeing. It's literally just like, he wasn't there, and it's like, okay, well, but what about he was though?
What about he was though?
And it's really irritating because like I don't know. My only hope is that Naoi gets a big portion of the story to herself. Like the trailer that we just saw does very much more heavily focus on Yasuke, which is fine. I mean, honestly, he's probably going to be the more interesting character to me personally. But it is a strange choice maybe to be like, oh, we finally made one that's in an Asian country, and the person who everyone is going to like really lean on as the main character is not an Asian person.
It's not Japanese, right?
And I don't know, there might be something to be said about also the fact that because he's the fourth if you count the Adewale DLC Black Assassin's Creed protagonist, and the third who comes from a background of slavery. Like
Adewale,
that's
for sure. True.
That's a choice. But I don't know. Like there are aspects of this where you could lean on and be like, this is strange. I don't think there's anywhere it's like this is a bad choice. But those aren't even the things that people are talking about. They're just talking about like, they're basically just saying I don't want a black guy. And it's like, well, all right.
That's the problem.
Are you allowed to basically just play as the other character, female character?
Just plays the girl.
What was it?
Naoi.
It does seem like you're going to be jumping back and forth between them. I don't think that it's
the case of Syndicate, which is what I think they're kind of doing here, right?
Yeah.
You choose which playstyle you like, and
well,
like, if you
because in Syndicate, it was you played as one and then you played as the other, because it was the whole Syndicate game was Jacob would go and fuck everything up, and then Evie would come in and fix everything, and that was the story over and over again.
Game is pretty much just Evie was the female. I played that story because I hate like going around brawling. And they gave me the choice of the stealth character, so I chose the stealth. Now I think there were like 1 or 2 missions where I was forced to play as
As the
was
guy.
it Jacob? Was that the other guy?
Jacob,
the
yeah.
main, the
Oh,
man,
brother. Yeah.
the male protagonist. But so yeah, I pretty much 90% of that game I played as the female character,
Mhm.
and that just suited my playstyle. And I think it's the same here, where she's gonna be the stealth one,
Right.
right?
Right.
And Yasuke is gonna be like the brawler, right?
Mhm.
And so I would end up, not because I don't like him or anything, I would just end up choosing the other one if I had played it,
Yeah.
because I
Prefer
like
that play style.
I just want the stealth.
Yeah, makes
So-
sense. And that seems to be the case, that you'll have the freedom to do that. So I'm going to guess it's very specific missions obviously will have you focus on that character,
Yep.
but outside of that, it seems like you'll have freedom. So yeah, I don't think it should be a problem for anybody really. But again, I get all points on it, but like you said, Danny, it's not that they're like, I would have loved to actually see the perspective of the Japanese man, blah blah blah. They're just like, no, I don't want a black character. That's what it's come down to, and it's like, you all are disingenuous as hell. It's like, can't we just? I don't get it at this point. It's so stupid to still be focused on that. We've had tons of other protagonists, and like Hargeet pointed out, you got a ton of Japanese related material in games alone, which focus absolutely only on a Japanese male protagonist. So what's the problem? Anyway,
Yeah.
this last video here, I'm going to skip past it because he just talks about what we've already seen, and he confirms that Yasuke was fairly important in Nobunaga's circle and etc. as far as being his retainer and things of the nature. I'm going to skip ahead to our second topic, and we probably have to get through this a bit faster, but Square Enix plans to aggressively pursue multi-platform. Let me make sure I switch this over. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So Square Enix plans to aggressively pursue multi-platform game releases. In the company's earnings release, the Final Fantasy publisher states it's looking to bring more games to Xbox and PC. It's about time, isn't it, fellas? It's about time. It took them long enough to learn, but we're getting there. Everybody's getting bitten by the multi-platform bug now. It's Square Enix. In its earnings report released earlier today, the publisher shared plans to increase profits, stating that it will aggressively pursue a multi-platform strategy that includes Nintendo platforms, PlayStation, Xbox, and PCs. Right now, Square Enix's biggest game, the Final Fantasy 14 and 14 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth.
It's 16.
Is that 16? Oh, that's 16. My bad. Yep, it is. Have been restricted to the play. I thought 14 was pretty big for them too. I thought right now, but okay.
It was, but I
Yeah,
think
14's
they're
out
saying
on-
specifically because 14's already getting ported.
Okay, got you.
So
Have been restricted to the PlayStation, with PC releases for select titles, including Final Fantasy VII Remake, Intergrade, following some time after console launch. However, smaller new releases like the forthcoming Visions of Mana are seeing simultaneous release on Xbox. Yeah, I know our buddy Miles Dumpierre is excited for Visions of Mana. Who I'm going to have Miles on here soon, by the way. I might have to try to hold him off until you get back, Danny.
I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, because I know you didn't get a chance to talk with him yet, right?
No.
Okay, yeah, I'll hold back on him. I'll invite him maybe for the 13th episode rather, when you come back. It says the company wrote that it hopes bringing its major franchises, including its back
You know when he's
catalog.
gonna want to be on, right? Is when Killer Clowns comes out. Which is
I know. That's what I was thinking. When is that
Right.
release anyway? Now that you mention that.
June 4. It's coming out June 4.
Oh, okay, so that's perfect because we could talk about it on the show. I'll make it a highlight for him to entice him. Yeah. The company wrote that it helps to bringing its major franchises, including its back catalog, to more platforms will build an environment where more customers can enjoy our titles. It's a policy Xbox has started to pursue, releasing its exclusives on other platforms, from Grounded and Pentiment on Switch and the highly praised but ill-fated Hi-Fi Rush on PlayStation 5. The news that fans can expect more from Square Enix titles on more platforms was coupled with additional reports that the company is undergoing a round of layoffs. According to a report in VGC, the publisher is planning to let go of an unconfirmed number of people across its US and European businesses. Verge has reached out to Square Enix for comment. Earlier this year, industry analysts have speculated that Square Enix's most recent game, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, hasn't been selling as well as expected. Square Enix itself has not shared sale numbers. You know they don't share sales numbers, you already know. And it always seems, we don't need to read the rest of this. It always seems like with Square, they never quite hit the mark as far as what they aim for. Have you all noticed that? I'm like,
Yeah, it's
how many copies do you all expect to sell is what I'm starting to figure out. I'm trying to worry about, because it seems dangerous working for them at times. What are we going to say, Logan?
oh sorry. I
No,
was
you're
just
good.
gonna say failure to meet expectations is like their official motto at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I
that's
mean, it's like everything. Like Tomb Raider, like sold like gangbusters, and they're like, it didn't hit what we thought it could. I'm like, dude, what were you
right,
expecting to sell?
right.
40 million? It's like, I don't know. It's crazy.
No, you're absolutely right, though. It's like every time they say that, it's like, okay, that's sold, but that's sold so many. It's weird to see that. I think they even complained. What was that? It was one game that sold like millions, and they were like, what was that? Well, I know the Tomb Raider games for sure were one of them. It was another game too that I think they said failed to meet expectations. I'm like, what expectations are you all setting in that office? Anyway, that aside, Square Enix is going everywhere, fellas. So what's your take on this? Logan, again, I'll start back with you on this to get your thoughts, and we'll move to Danny and to Hargeet. But what are your thoughts here with Square moving aggressively, as they're saying, to pursue this? Do you think this is the right move for them? Obviously, they're going to have their layoffs still affected by this, but is it a long time coming? Did you expect this to happen, or what?
100% it's the right move. First thought is hallelujah. It's about time.
For sure.
It's like, to me, the whole, there's obviously console tribalism and exclusive nonsense here and there. Like, my box has this, your box has that, whatever. But like, to me, there's a big difference between a platform holder keeping something exclusive to its platform from its first party studios than for a third party publisher to just, take basically a big old money bag and just arbitrarily make it only available on one thing, or to just specifically not put it on one platform, but you can put it everywhere else. And that really, really, just grinded the gears on a lot of Xbox fans over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And like the sheer audacity to make Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Collection available on tablets, Kindle tablets,
Yeah.
and Amazon Fire tablets.
Yeah.
But you're going to say you couldn't manage to cobble together a few pennies and put it on an Xbox platform? I'm like, get out of here with
Yeah.
that. Or the whole idea of, we're going to give you Kingdom Hearts 3, and this story's already confusing as flip, and good luck with figuring it out. We're not going to give you the first ones until you guys complain forever, and then we'll give them to you. And there's no guarantee we were going to give you the fourth one. And then, like, okay, we won't give you Final Fantasy VII Remake, but we'll give you the prequel remake. And it ends literally with the opening of Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is just such a punk move. And it just, Jamie and I spend at least like a little bit almost on every episode just talking about
this. Yeah.
Square Enix.
They're
And
definitely milking Final Fantasy VII right
all
now.
their stuff that
Yeah.
they've pulled. So I am just so thankful they're finally stopping this nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
To me, unless there's some ironclad grant of rights, like legal document about Final Fantasy VII Remake and its, sequels, then I think finally everything's going to come over now. And it's about time.
It's well past time. And then you have, of course, the naysayers out there who are like, oh, well, Xbox gamers aren't buying games anyway. They're not going to support them, blah, blah, blah. My argument is always, well, you can't expect anybody on Xbox to support you when, one, most people who were expecting your game had become accustomed to realizing they can only get them on PlayStation by and large, right? If not Nintendo, maybe here and there, some titles, and if otherwise PC eventually. So you've trained us to realize we're not going to get those on Xbox. over time for most of a lot of these releases. So why would you expect the fan base to be there? They don't believe the games will be there. Hargeet, what about you, brother? What is your thinking on this? And obviously, I'm thinking we're all in the same accord on it took them long enough. But will you be supporting them when they finally bring games over like this? What's your thinking?
Yeah, it's I've played 15 on Xbox. I was disappointed in it.
Yeah.
I've played several of the ones that have been in Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
I think 10 was pretty good. I just didn't go and finish it.
Yeah.
But will 7? I mean, I just bought 7 on PC because I was kind of sick of waiting.
Yeah.
So I got the integrated, the one that they actually have on PC. I'll give it a shot. I've generally been kind of disappointed in Final Fantasy. The last one I really played a lot of was 4. That was a long time ago. And I don't know if the new ones are just too different for me or what. I don't know what it is, but 7's supposedly the best one. So if like part 1 is good and they bring the rest over to Xbox, fine. I'd buy it there. I don't care. It's fine. They have to bring it over, right? 16, if it comes over, right? It hasn't even come to PC yet, right? To my knowledge, it hasn't even come out to PC yet.
Not yet.
So whenever they decide to finally support that on Xbox and PC, I think the exclusivity was not a long-term one for Final Fantasy 16. So hopefully it can come to both platforms. And it might even come for Nintendo Switch too, right? I'm sure they're looking at how they can get over there as well.
It'd be smart. They did.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, and that game supposedly is just kind of a linear adventure game now, right? It's not even really the old style, turn-based combat. It's become sort of just a normal adventure game, right? So it's like, fine, okay, that might be pretty cool. So I'll give that a chance when it comes out. Hopefully, it comes out on Xbox as well as PC. But we'll see. And yeah, I don't know if they're one of the ones that are doing it, but I think it's like Sega, I think, does this, where you can get it on the Microsoft Store. And it's cross-platform, so you can play it on PC or Xbox, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's
so
beautiful.
I think like the Yakuza, if you buy them, they're like available on both PC and console.
That helps a lot too if you're playing one on the handhelds and stuff like that. Like I'm using my rod.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I hope more people do the cross progression as well, and that way you can just do exactly that. Hey, I'm taking my ROG Ally with me to Summer Game Fest and Showcase. While I'm at the hotel, maybe I can play a couple of rounds of something.
Absolutely.
Get through that.
Go do some fishing or something, and like you said in the Yakuza games.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, that's good. But yeah, I mean, like Logan pointed out too with the Pixel collection, we talked about that before, haven't we, Danny?
Yeah. It's honestly surprising that they ever made the decision to not put that on all platforms when it's such a small port. And also, like, some of those games are already on Xbox, like the original versions, because you can access them, like back boot them through other games.
Right.
So it was always a weird choice to me on that front. I think that this decision for them to go multi-platform was kind of an obvious one. We've been saying it forever of like the money's not adding up, and it's not necessarily that like exclusivity wasn't working. It was that they clearly weren't getting enough money for going exclusive. Like if Sony was gonna back up a truck full of money to keep it off these other platforms, you probably should have made sure that it was enough money that you wouldn't be missing your expectations for the money that those games would be making, right? Like that's a strange thing to me. And I realize that probably a lot just because of the nature of how long games take to make. Probably a lot of those contracts were signed pretty close together, so maybe they didn't know how well they would perform on PlayStation when they were signing all these other ones. But at a certain point, it's like, hey guys, something's not working. Maybe change something.
And it's crazy they had to have like new leadership come into place before they finally realized that.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of strange things going on over there. I think that this is ultimately a really good thing. It's weird though because we've already had this once from Square where they used to be not on Xbox, and then it was sometime during the 360 era they were like, we're gonna start putting everything over there, and then that just stopped again. But now because of money, and now I don't know. It's it's hard for me to be like, oh, Square's making the right decision and they're going to continue to make the right decision going forward, because historically they just like keep going back and forth. And it's like, I don't know. I guess they'll decide on whatever's best for them at the time. But at least in the short term, we should be getting all Square games on Xbox, which is good because now we don't have to worry about like, oh, is the next Kingdom Hearts not going to be on Xbox? Is the next Dragon Quest not going to be on Xbox?
Yeah.
Because those have both been semi-officially announced, and we're not given platforms. So theoretically, we don't have to worry about that right now. The only one that I think is still in question at this point is the 7 remake, because we don't know the nature of that contract.
Right.
So we don't know if it's like those are going to be exclusive until the 3rd one comes out, and then maybe like a triple pack of all 3 will launch on Xbox or something. There's no way of knowing for sure. So I guess we'll just have to wait on that one. But yeah, the Pixel remaster, Octopath 2, maybe 16. I would expect to be seeing those sooner rather than later.
I would definitely agree with 16 and Octopath Traveler 2. I loved part 1 of Octopath. You all hear me praise it off.
2 is already scheduled to come out, right? Octopath Traveler 2.
Yeah,
this year.
Yeah.
It was supposed to release in the winter of this year, earlier this in January, if not. Well, I think they said they showed it at, I think it was supposed to be in either December up until obviously spring started, right? So they've missed that mark already. So I don't know what happened, but it was supposed to release it in the winter, it said. Now, unless they're talking about next year winter, the end of this year winter. Yeah, but that's what it was supposed to have been. I'm going to guess with this new change here, and with them already promising to bring it over, Microsoft may have worked out a deal to bring it to Game Pass. That's what I'm going to guess, like the first one. I'm going to guess that's what they'll do.
2, yeah, it's possible. Maybe they announce it at Showcase or something like that.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Right? Yeah.
I'll actually add that as one of my
Pass.
guesses. That'll be one of my guesses for the predictions, actually. I'll use that for that.
So I think one of the things that's come with this is, we're also hearing from other publishers that were doing these things that it's not working out, with PlayStation being the only platform, right? So I think more the potential for PlayStation to use up third parties for their exclusivity is going to kind of dry out unless they're looking at indies. Right, or up and coming studios, because it's going to be tough sell for publishers to say, hey, I'm going to forego, especially because they lock them away from PC as well,
right?
And I'm going to forego every platform outside of you, and games historically just aren't selling the way that we want. So even if you did an exclusivity deal with Xbox, you're guaranteed to be putting that on PC.
That's right, exactly.
Right? Which even if the console, not a very large install base, the PC is. So it makes up for it. But Microsoft has also kind of shied away from this idea of doing exclusivity, especially for long term, where their exclusivity is just put it in Game Pass. We're happy to just take it in Game Pass, day and date, and then you can put it wherever you want. We don't care. Yeah, right? And that's a better play for the publisher. That's a much better play. Yeah, take a bag. Plus, I can put it on PlayStation, Nintendo. I can put it on PC. Like, it's just a good idea for them. Like Rise of the Ronin didn't do as well as they were hoping either, and so like I don't think those kind of things are going to be coming their way anymore.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, this is kind of silly, like you said. But at the very least, you would think they would keep it multi-plat to PC. I mean,
exactly.
Seeing how gigantic the PC crowd is, I don't see why they thought, let's not put it over there. Like, I would never have agreed to that. Like, that makes no sense.
Jim Ryan kind of kept that whole, console-only narrative, right? And it seems like Hiroki's didn't come in saying, I don't give a shit, I want money. So, put it everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he's going to do day-to-day PC pretty soon.
Yeah, I think so, too. I definitely think so. So, KY Bob had a question. He said, with Square Enix doing what they have been doing with certain Final Fantasy games, is that not what Asobo has been always done with Flight Sim? If so, should Flight Sim be available everywhere? Now, I have my answer to that, but yeah, you guys go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Flight Sim is, they can put it wherever they want, but Flight Sim is a Microsoft-owned property.
That's right.
Right? From like the 1980s.
So, one of the oldest.
I would say that, this is not the equivalent of Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is a fully third-party published game. So there's no reason for it to have been locked. Much like, saying, Shadow the Tomb Raider, was that the one, I think, or was it Rise? I think it was Shadow.
Yeah.
That Microsoft took exclusively on their platform for a year, Would you say that Tomb Raider should only come to Xbox? Like, no. And like, should that like be locked there in any way? In any way? No, I don't think it should, because it's a third-party owned IP, right? So unless Microsoft went and bought the IP, right, then that's one thing. And Sony has not bought Final Fantasy.
That's
they,
right.
They do not own the IP, so it's up to Square to publish it where they want to. Microsoft fully owns Flight Sim, so they can 100% put it wherever they want.
So you answered it exactly as I would have answered it. It's a first party title, so they don't. Sobo doesn't have the luxury to do that as Square does with their Final Fantasy titles. KY. But thank you for the question. I was going to say too. I mean, Flight Sim is kind of everywhere anyway. I mean, everywhere that counts, really. I think they have a stronger base on PC than they do on console for sure.
Yeah.
By far, because you can do so much more visually with the PC. It's much more powerful to handle it properly, because the visuals and the stuff they're using in this game is insane. These consoles can't handle that fully to the depth that they can go to on PC. And I've seen people with full like flight gear setups, like insane looking stuff. It's that I know they spent tens of thousands
cool because
on.
it's very detailed if you want it to be. And so if you're trying to like learn flying, it is a good way to learn it without having the like reality of
That's dope.
crashing.
Yeah.
Right? Because literally every piece of that equipment is there and functional if you want it to be, right?
That's pretty cool.
People can really learn how to fly, and it has a lot of different planes, and if your specific model isn't there, it's likely available to purchase. So you can actually do the full flight test of an actual plane that you're going to be flying. So a lot of people use it for that, It's pretty crazy.
Now that you mention it, though, I have this 4080 Super popping over here, Hargeet. Maybe your brother need to finally boot up Flight Sim over here.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah. You got to see what this looks like. I need to pre-install Hellblade too, by the way. And we had another question from C4 Skills. He says, question, why should Xbox players support Square Enix now? They already basically said to us they hate Xbox players. Now, I wouldn't say they hate. They said they hate us. But Danny and Logan, would you guys want to tackle this question?
I wouldn't say they hated us. I would say that I've long been pretty miffed and peeved at them because of the way they've been doing stuff and everything. But, at the end of the day, it was their properties and they could do what they wanted to with them, even though I disagreed with it. And they were getting money bags from Sony and stuff, so they've clearly seen that it's not working to the way that they need it to, so they're adjusting. And I think it's much easier to forgive and move on and just go like, hey, all right, as long as going forward you're bringing these all things coming to Xbox as well, and no harm, no foul. Let's go on, because I think if we try to focus too much on the fact that they treated Xbox players like
gray-headed stepchild.
Yeah, like for a long time, like second-class citizens, like it just doesn't help. I mean, you can be mad about it, or you can just be glad you have them now. And I've been mad about it, but I'll just now go forward being glad I have them going forward.
You're ready to reconcile and move forward with your life. That's what it sounds like.
I'll have a handshake with him, pat him on the back, and we'll walk down the road.
Yeah. Bygones be bygones. You feel the same way, Danny, or did you not want to chime in on that because Logan pretty much answered it? Or
no, I mean, you basically said it, but it's like they didn't not put their games on Xbox because they hated Xbox. They didn't put their games on Xbox because Sony paid them a lot of money to not, and they thought that would be a good business decision, and it didn't pan out for them.
Yeah,
like I really don't think that there was anything like emotional about it. I think they just bet wrong in a way that maybe should have been obvious was going to be the wrong bet. So I think that's really all there is to it. And the other thing is like, it's basically just like these games are going to come over now. So if you aren't interested in the games, then you just don't play them, and if
Pretty
for the people
much.
who are, then we will. The goal we're looking for here is for pretty much every game to show up on every platform. Like that's
Yeah.
seemingly what we're headed towards.
This utopia. Yeah, that's what it
and
seems
I'm
like.
hoping that that's what we end up
Yeah.
on. Because it's, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm pretty sure video games are like kind of the only industry that have platform exclusive things. Like you don't see that in movie theaters or anything like
I
that.
suppose you could say something like IMAX, but you're right, because even then the movie will still be on other theaters. It just won't be in the IMAX.
Yeah,
format,
and so I'm almost
So-
kind of surprised that they've been able to get away with it for so long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting thing, but I do think that it's going away, and hopefully we can also get rid of paying for online on consoles at the same time. Just to throw that in
That'd be
there,
awesome.
and then everything can be good.
Yeah.
we can all be happy.
Absolutely. If only. If only. I think you're right. I think we're moving to this world now. Just a different world. It's again, if you've been used to being like a console agnostic kind of warrior, it's different. It's got to feel different and strange to you. I've since kind of adapted to move more to PC for some, or at least not a move to, but to be more open and playing on other platforms. Right now, I've always had everything. But now I've come to the point in life for myself where I'm like, okay, this doesn't have it over here. I'll go over here and play it. That's where I, move with it now. Or I can't.
Umbra, you're probably gonna follow me and eventually sell your PlayStation.
Oh, I'm
'Cause you'll
probably.
find that you'll just play those games on PC.
If they move
play
those
better,
day and
they're one
date,
and dones anyway.
That's the thing, right? And you're right, because a lot of them are one and dones. But if they move them day and date, I have no need for the PlayStation anymore.
Exactly.
It's just the
Right,
truth.
your main platform is Xbox anyway, right? You're probably
Yep.
going to keep that just because the ecosystem's cool.
That's
and
the
it
only
matches your
reason.
PC anyway. So,
That and the
right,
backlog.
just
Yeah, exactly. So the backlog of Xbox plus the
get Game
ecosystem.
Pass, right?
Exactly. So
So-
that's the reason I would keep Xbox for sure. But you're right. For PlayStation, I don't have that attachment. I don't have any need
Calculus
for
I made,
them.
I'm like, at some point it just doesn't make sense to have a PS5. If they're guaranteeing their games are coming there, maybe if you have FOMO, you have to have it immediately. I don't.
Right.
So I can wait. I'm fine. And their games are coming there. I'll play it on a 4090 at high, like everything, right? It's like,
Yeah. By that point, you'll have the
Yeah, it doesn't really
5090.
hurt
I'm
me.
sure. You'll have the 5090. I'm sure by that point, Hargeet. But yeah, man. Like since I've had this, I've kind of moved to this whole like, especially now that I have the more powerful PC I have. It's like if I really want to play a game at its best, I'm going to play it there. But everything else, I'll play on consoles. I got no problem with that. That's the way I look at it.
Yep.
It's like
That's generally
Hellblade
what I end
2.
up doing.
Yeah, Hellblade 2, I'm going to play at its best on PC. And that's a personal decision because I want the performance to be there. But there's no shade to consoles. It's just that I want the best performance on top of visuals. So it is what it is. But that I do understand that it's a luxury that not everyone can afford and get.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So
But anyway, so as far as Square, I will point out that Square did put Octopath on Nintendo first, and then Xbox and in Game Pass, and not on PlayStation, right? And then they also put the first big. Well, they also did the exclusivity deal with Tomb Raider. That was Square, right? With Tomb Raider with Xbox for $100 million, granted, but they did do that exclusivity deal. And then they also put the first big AAA game day and date in Game Pass with Outriders.
yep.
Right, so
Yep,
they
yep.
have supported Xbox, right? It's just in different ways. They've
True.
supported Nintendo in different ways, right?
Kind of
so
a
I think the
pick and
exclusivity
choose. Kind of a pick
Yeah,
and choose
exactly.
thing. Yeah, they've kind of tried to curate their game list of what they put on what, but
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So I think that's done, and I think they're not just going to say no. Our games are everywhere, and
Yep.
we might negotiate for things like being in PS Plus or being in Game Pass.
Yep.
But otherwise, we're putting games everywhere.
makes perfect sense.
And that makes
Especially
sense. I think it's
especially
great.
for the marquee titles. Well, you don't limit Final Fantasy to one platform. I don't think that was
Yeah,
smart.
it's a stupid idea.
Yeah,
right?
it's too much of it's too big of a title, and you're only hurting yourself, really. Especially not putting it on PC. I still don't understand that decision. That's just stupid. Because that's the
So-
biggest. Again, it's
But
the
yeah,
biggest
Kingdom
market.
Hearts, I'm looking forward to that one. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys played those or not, but
We have
and shout out to Game Pass because that's how I played Kingdom Hearts.
Oh,
I got
nice.
into it.
nice.
So I got to play all of them on that, and man,
I first
it's,
played them on
it's freaking
PS2
great.
at least, but yeah, as far as the
So-
first one or two, I believe. But yeah, definitely. So our final major topic, and then we'll do predictions and get out of here really quick after that. But elsewhere, we don't have to go in too deep into this. We don't have a lot to really add to this, but I do have a question for you all once we read through it. Elsewhere, right here, as you all can see, I guess adverb, at, in, from, or to another place or other places, anywhere or somewhere else. All right. Activision, Xbox Activision opens new studio to develop narrative-based AAA franchise. Activision, the developer publisher Microsoft and Xbox purchased for $69 billion last year, has formed a new studio called Elsewhere Entertainment, and it is developing a new narrative-based and genre-defining AAA franchise. The studio is based in Warsaw, Poland, and according to a report from IGN, is not working on a Call of Duty-related project. So, if you all, I don't know if you all remember, they went to Poland. Phil was in Poland sometime years back. I don't know if you all remember that. And people were speculating, oh, is he shopping? Even me, I was speculating, is he shopping for CD Projekt Red? It seems like he was probably headhunting now that I'm reading this, because it's some of the devs from CD Projekt Red, I believe they said, involved in this. So maybe he was headhunting talent out there to help build this now put together studio. So we don't know when exactly the studio came to be, at least not yet. The studio, which has been formed behind the scenes before today's public unveiling, arrives roughly 1 week after Xbox closed 4 Bethesda studios, including Hi-Fi Rush, developer Tango Gameworks, and Redfall team Arcane Austin. While the company has yet to publicly address the closures directly, Xbox president Sarah Bond said in an interview that the closures were about keeping the business healthy in the long term. It's why news of this new studio might be surprising, given 1 week ago the parent company of Activision was closing studios to cut costs. Yeah, it's pretty surprising, actually, to me. Built from the ground up, Elsewhere Entertainment is a premier and standalone studio dedicated to establishing an environment that inspires bold and diverse ideas, a blog post reveals. The team's underlying mission encourages everyone to explore and collaborate creatively to craft a franchise with an enduring legacy that resonates for far beyond games. The new studio has full access to Activision's resources and tools as it continues to increase production and development. Elsewhere is opening a search for best-in-class talent from across the industry and around the world to help create a state-of-the-art and new generation gaming experience. Elsewhere is currently made up of developers with experience working on franchises like The Last of Us, Uncharted, The Witcher, Cyberpunk 2077, Destiny, Tom Clancy's The Division, and Far Cry. So yeah, all those devs from those games, CD Projekt Red and all that. This just goes back to my thought that Phil, when he went out there, this was possibly what he was going out there to do. Maybe this was going to try to build a new studio in the vein of the initiative. So, gentlemen, I'll start with you, Hargeet, and move on to Logan, to you, Danny, and then we'll do predictions. Hargeet, what's your thoughts on this right here?
Yeah, so it's cool that they're building another studio. I have initiative vibes. We're getting talent from all over the place, and will the talent work with each other or not? Right, it just depends on how many chiefs versus like the grunt workers, right? So I don't know. We'll see how that goes, right? It could end up like the initiative. It could end up being a very good studio. Hopefully it turns out to be that, right? And we get something cool from this. It's still a step in the right direction as far as getting another AAA studio up and running, and build games. Hopefully that'll be pretty good. But I can just see all the stupid narratives that are going to happen. Well, it's been a whole like 10 minutes. Where's the game? Why isn't the game out? These guys suck. My Xbox can't manage studios. That like I can just see all the stupid, because it's going to take like 6 years before something comes out, right? But that's not good enough. Like, it's going to be like, well, they opened it in 2024. It's now 2028, and like there's no game, and they don't know what they're doing. And, like I can just see it. You know, all these stupid narratives are going to show up all the time. Like, ugh.
Man,
that's what and then of course it'll be, is it exclusive? Is it everywhere? I mean, I'm so done with all that. But that's what you're gonna hear. That's what you're gonna hear for like 6 to 7 years before this game comes out, and hopefully it'll be great. But that's all you're gonna hear for like 6 years. It's gonna be all this negativity around this new studio that hasn't delivered anything. It's like, well, duh, it's a brand new studio. It's gonna take time. Just like let them cook.
Yeah, definitely. I can see a lot of those narratives popping up. Now, you did mention a good point, which is what I guess I'll lead to you with, Logan, which is, yeah, the question in mind, I guess, is they closed these studios down recently, and now they have this popping up, and they're going to ask, hey, where are these games at? Like you pointed out, and it's going to be about a 6-year thing before we finally see that, right? Especially if they're making some genre-defining AAA game. So that would lead to the question of then, why did they get rid of Tango if they were removed because, or at least closed, should I say? I don't want to say removed. It sounds too dismissive, but they were closed because they were in the middle of pitch. They didn't have anything in the works. So isn't that the same thing with this, where they wouldn't actually have something they were working on and it would take time to bring their game out? So why were they closed? But you, like, what's the reasoning there? Did that cross your mind on that, Logan? What's your thinking?
I could understand that line of questioning for somebody who maybe doesn't follow the gaming industry or is like, casually tuning in. But like, one aspect of this is like, Xbox, Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard King, like everybody has, come to just think, it's all one. And in some ways it is, but in other ways it's also like these are separately, somewhat separately run entities that have their own management and business structures and way of doing things and operating. And yes, they have higher ups, like, they report to Matt Booty or, Phil, and then Sarah's in charge of hardware and platform stuff. To where, I don't think this was like, well, we got to scrape up the funding for a new studio in Warsaw. I see if we got a few studios over there in ZeniMax that aren't doing so well. Better knock some heads together and scrape up the funding for this, or or like the project stuff and all that. Like it doesn't work to me to say that one is because of the other or yada yada. Like it's separate to me, and I think that it's a great move to go to Poland. Poland has become one of the hotbeds of development talent in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much like a Silicon Valley and Austin, a UK, like just a hotbed of talent. Korea is another one that has been popping off like nuts lately. Just these new
Definitely.
vibrant markets filled with talent that are taking over the gaming industry and dialogue. So, and I love it that they're focusing on a new IP that isn't Call of Duty. Like, I know a lot of people, when the Activision deal was first announced, it feels like a millennia ago, but that people were like, man, please release, Raven and High Moon and Toys for Bob and some of these studios from the COD mines and let them do something else.
Right.
Well, Toys for Bob got their freedoms and they're doing something, but like the idea of them making a new studio, AAA studio to work on something different is just music to my ears, and I'm really excited. And I'm saying that as a Call of Duty guy who loves Call of Duty, but I would also like to see their talent try something else too.
No,
You
yeah, I
bring up an
agree.
interesting point about the Poland, right? I kind of glossed over that piece. If we really want to talk about Tango, Japan is possibly like one of the most expensive places to do anything. So talent, cost of people wise, it's much more expensive over there. Poland isn't as bad, right? So it's cheaper than here.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be a better cost to create a AAA game in Poland than doing something in Japan. So that might have factored in too.
That's a fair point. We actually talked. Speaking of that, I mean, that's actually a point me and Danny talked about at one point, where we were saying like the cost over there for devs and what they make and for projects are far lower than it is over here in America. You remember that talk, Danny? And
Not specifically.
yeah.
I remember that we talked about how like everyone over there basically just got a pay raise.
Yeah, we talked about that too, but I think it was further back. I think it was maybe it's probably like a year ago because this is when Phil went out there at that time, and not a year ago, but like last year sometime we were talking about this, and one of the talks was how little they make in comparison, compared I think to their American counterparts. So that's a good point you made there, Hargeet. Like, the cost of it might be so much dramatically lower, but I felt the same way for Tango though. Like I don't think theirs was that exorbitant either as far as budget goes. So I don't know. I'm torn on this honestly, but I'm excited at the same time because yay, we get a a new AAA genre defining, attempting at least studio. So I'm torn. I'm sad to lose the studios we lost, but at the same time, I am happy for this news here. What's your takeaway from this, Danny? Does this like make you happy? You feel confused? What's your thinking on this?
No, I really do feel like this is a very different situation to the Tango thing. I think they keep the books of Activision and ZeniMax probably relatively separate to the point where clearly this was probably something that was in the works even before they decided to close down Tango, because the Tango thing felt like kind of a snap decision, if I'm being honest.
I agree.
Yeah. So I don't think the two things are like super related. I get that the timing of it is weird.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, honestly, the thing that confuses me the most about this is that they're like, it's made up of former Naughty Dog devs and former CD Projekt Red devs, and it's in Poland.
Mm-hmm.
But like Naughty Dog's in California, so I don't know if these people are working remote or if they're moving or like how that works.
No, they just have support studios, right? So Naughty Dog had was it like 2,000 developers working on?
Oh yeah.
That's right, and they just laid them all off.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Well, no, they were all support studios, and then yes, there were some internal that they did lay off, but like there were a lot of people that were not Sony people that were just support studios working on it.
Gotcha.
Now I'm sure they hired a sports studio in Poland. They're all over the place. There are
I guess that would make sense.
Studios whose only job is supporting game dev, right? So they don't actually make their
so
own.
They weren't technically Naughty Dog employees,
so,
maybe.
Yeah, they made games for Naughty Dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the way that it's worded is maybe a little weird there. That makes sense. Yeah, that was honestly the thing that had me the most confused. I was like, I'm not sure that makes sense, but all right. Yeah, I think it's a good idea for them to open this up. I love that Activision is creating a studio that's not going to be making Call of Duty. I think that's cool. Theoretically, it'll be a new IP because I don't know what else they would be working at that sort of fits the mold of what they're describing here. I think it's cool. I'm glad that we're getting a studio open instead of a studio closed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is
glad to hear it.
Actual good news in a way. Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think we're all in alignment here where we're like, this is good news as far as a new studio popping up. Obviously, superb talent, it seems to be the case. And like Hargeet pointed out too, I hope it doesn't go the way of some of the rumors we're hearing for the initiative where they're having trouble with Perfect Dark, we're hearing, allegedly. I hope this is smoother and whatever, but you definitely can be plan to hear some doom and gloom around it. Wait a minute, where's the game at? It's been this many years. You can, yeah.
Well, this one at least they're not announcing on a stage, so a lot of the idiots won't know that it happened.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's fair. And finally,
I think Pony Stables will be pretty.
They'll be on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably.
Where's that elsewhere game? It's nowhere. That's where it's at. So we'll quickly do predictions, guys, for the showcase because Danny won't be here with us until our 13th show on his back. Is coming back June 13th. He'll be back, and that's when we'll be discussing naturally, as we would anyway. We'll be discussing the showcase. So, Danny, then we'll start with you. How about that? You're the man of the hour. We'll start with you. I guess we can do it as far as your top 5 predictions and maybe a surprise. And yeah, that's how we'll do it. 5 top picks, you guys, and a surprise pick. And the audience, of course, please feel free to join in and chime in yourself and post what you expect to be there and what surprise wild card that might appear or what you would like, however you decide to do it. And hit the like button, by the way, if you all haven't.
I'll hit that like button. Don't do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was actually just looking at it. It's pretty cool because literally this time next week I'll be in Italy and I'll definitely be asleep because in Italy it'll be 4:30 a.m. So at this point, I better be asleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. But my first prediction, because any of the things that we like know are gonna be there, either from people telling us behind the scenes or whatever, or things that are just really obvious. I'm not gonna bother predicting because that's not fun.
Yeah.
So the thing, my first major prediction here is I think Sega is gonna show up in a major way, and specifically Atlas.
Mhm.
We've been seeing rumors from that Midori guy of a bunch of like new Persona games and Persona remakes and stuff. So I think either Persona 6 is announced at the Xbox stage. I think that honestly, I really think they're going to throw a lot of weight behind it. Not necessarily make it exclusive. I don't think they would do that, but
Mhm.
because the branding is already there, with like the only news thing that's come out about it being that the color of it is going to be green, like they're probably looking into that a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be that, or it'll be minimally it'll be the Persona 4 remake. One of those two things is going to be announced at the Xbox show. If it's the Persona 4 remake, it'll probably be in Game Pass. If it's 6, probably not.
Okay. All right. So for you, Persona 6 will be announced.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one. What else did you have?
Oh, we're doing them all right now.
Yeah. You
Okay.
can. Yeah. Just
I thought we were gonna do like round robin, but that's fine. I got them.
Yeah. List them all out.
I do think we have been hearing about the Gears of War situation.
Mm-hmm.
So can you hear that car alarm going off? By the way, someone has decided that now is their time to shine.
I don't hear it. No.
Okay, good. It's throwing me off. We've been hearing about this Gears of War situation for a while. I think that feels like an obvious shout. You know, I think I haven't had that confirmed for me as for sure being there as Gears of War 6. So I'm gonna say it's that. I'm gonna say that we'll probably also get the Marcus Phoenix collection announced if that does exist.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say for sure Gear 6 will probably be the thing that is not that. No, I think maybe they'll open the show with it.
Okay. It's not going to be the one last thing.
No.
Okay.
No, I think that it's been rumored enough that it won't be that exciting as like a one last thing, but I think it's a strong way to start the show. So I think that's how they're going to do that.
Good thinking. Yeah. Okay.
Fallout. I've been saying on the show for a couple weeks now that basically since the Fallout show started, that if there is any Fallout anything being worked on right now, they're going to show it in June because of just the hype. Even if it's years and years and years out. So I think for sure that Fallout 3 remake remaster is going to be officially announced. I mean, it's already kind of leaked, so I think it gets officially announced there. And I think they show off one more Fallout project. I don't know what it'll be. I don't necessarily think it'll be Fallout 5. I don't think they're going to be like, and in 10 years when we're done with Elder Scrolls, we'll do another Fallout. But I do think that there's going to be some other project. I don't know if it'll be like a different studio working on something, like maybe a different studio is working on like a remake of 1 and 2, or if there's like maybe Obsidian is going to announce that they're starting a new Vegas 2. But I feel like there is no better time to announce a new Fallout property or
100%.
whatever
Yeah.
than right now.
100%.
So if they have any plans of that, even if it's a couple years out, this would be the best time to do it.
Yeah.
And this is beyond 76, right? Because
Yeah. Not the Skyline Valley thing, although that will almost certainly be there because the Skyline Valley update comes out like sometime next month. I don't know when exactly, but they'll almost certainly talk about that. And I don't want to hear anybody talking about like, oh my god, I can't believe they're talking about Fallout 76. That thing makes so much money, and it just had like a 4,000% increase in sales.
They're definitely gonna have what's the other one? World of Warcraft, right? That DLC.
Yeah.
Right?
Because they
any one of those
BlizzCon too.
expansions, because there's so many people. Like people cringe at those, like Sea of Thieves up there. Yeah, but how many players was it? 40 million. Like they're gonna go after them. Like.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. If it's making that much money, they're gonna talk about it. And so like it might not be the most exciting thing in the world for a lot of us, but the fact of the matter is Fallout 76 makes more money than most of the Xbox catalog. Disappointing as they might be. So they're definitely gonna talk about it. Yeah. But that's not one of my predictions, just that Fallout will show up.
Okay. So those are some good picks. Now, what would you say would be your surprise major pick? Like, oh, this is the wild card pick for you right here.
I think, man, That's a tough one because these
Yeah,
ones
men. I think men will
had
be there.
already-
That's a good pick. I think men will be in
men will be
attendance.
present.
Yeah.
There'll be at least one man. His name will be Hargeet Johnny. He'll
Yeah,
be there.
exactly. Hargeet be like, surprise, everyone! I got a game coming out too. Not
It was
just
me, guys. Here's I wrote a book.
Yeah,
Please buy book. Damn. All the other ones I already had prepared, so this one I'm gonna have to kind of wing. I think that they're going to have some kind of major partnership with, let's throw a dart. Okay, they'll do the Final Fantasy, right? So Square Enix, they just have all this thing. They're going multiplayer, all that stuff, or multi-platform rather.
right.
And they're wanting to show up more on Xbox. I don't necessarily think that they do the same thing that they did in the 360 generation, where what's his ass came out on stage and was like, "We do it. We're on Xbox now." But I think that they'll announce a new Final Fantasy. I think the one that's currently rumored is the 9 remake or the 8 remake, whichever one that is.
You're right, 9.
And I think that they'll be like, this is coming to Xbox, and maybe also it'll be on Game Pass, just to like double down on giving the fan base that's been underserved something nice.
That would be nice. I actually bought that. I actually own 9. I haven't played it yet, but a buddy of mine told me it was his favorite in the franchise, and I'm like, okay, I'll buy it.
It's definitely one of the good ones, like definitively.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it's definitely like top 5 for sure.
Okay. Yeah, and it's stylistic too, so you don't have to worry about it being outdated looking or anything, because the style they use for the characters and such. So yeah, that's cool. I definitely want to get into it, but it's the problem with this backlog, man. I got too much stuff to play and to go back to that, and I know that's going to be time consuming. But yeah, Logan, what about you, brother? Like, give us your, I guess, let's say top 3 picks and your wild card surprise. What would it be for you that you expected to showcase?
Well, I mean, like Daniel had said, there is some stuff that's already floating around that is obvious. Like Call of Duty's gonna be there, like we know that.
Even though it's redacted.
And then Gear 6 seems like given at this point. Like it's gonna be there. And maybe something else Gears, like Gears Collection, or maybe another spin-off, not saying like a Gears Tactics, but something different maybe with Gears. I think State of K3 is going to be there.
Okay. It's been a while for that. Yeah, right?
Yeah, like literally all we've seen about it was the girl out in the forest and it's winter and she's making a campfire and this zombie deer screams at her. That's all we've seen. CGI. It's been a hot minute. And apparently Coalition has been like really, really hands-on trying to get Undead Labs up to speed with Unreal Engine stuff. And so I expect a good showing from State of Decay 3. And let's see what else from their wheelhouse. I think this might be my surprise. I don't know, but I think we get a, it's not over till it's over. Last batch of backwards compatibility with Activision Blizzard titles, and then some of the other games that had licensing issues trapped between all these different companies. Like, Quake 4 and Quake Wars and Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Wolfenstein 09, like games made by Bethesda but also involved Activision or yada yada yada. It's like you own them all now, and then you now own Activision, which when you said that we've exhausted what we can do because of licensing or whatever, that was before you spent $70 billion acquiring one of the biggest publishers on the face of the planet. So you obviously own a lot more stuff now, and before the 360 store closes, I think it makes too much sense, and there's been a lot of smoke around that from various places. So personally, I think that either at the showcase or sometime right around it, there will be a final Goodwill backwards compatibility batch.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's some good picks right there. Hargeet, brother, what about you? What's your top 3 that you expect and or would like to be
That's
there?
just too short.
Too short? Okay, I'll give you one more. You get 4
Look, so-
and then the surprise pick.
I get. I think Persona 6 is happening. Horizon 6, Forza Horizon 6. I think that's probably going to be there.
Forgot about that.
I think they'll announce a new ABK game.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if this is like something that we should like put in as a pick or not, but I think the hardware, right, the controller, I think that's going to be something they do go over. The COD that we mentioned, it's definitely going to be there, but I think doing the roadmap of when are they going to put stuff in Game Pass, I think that might be there. The one that I'd like to see them do is Assassin's Creed, the new one.
Yeah.
Since it's next gen only, like bring the marketing for it over here and make that pitch. Hey, COD next gen, et cetera, right? Hey, this is the box to get all these games, right? The marketing, right? So you want your next gen console, right? We have all these shooters, right? COD, Overwatch, Halo, Gears, on and on and on, right? And they might have like Doom is supposedly something that's coming, right? So any one of those, like you can go through all that and say, hey, next gen Assassin's Creed, et cetera, right? There's like all these games. They can market the heck out of it because now they have so many publishers of games that they can market that they have themselves. Plus, if they get that one, right, it would be a good push to try to get their hardware to sell, assuming there is an equivalent PS5 Pro. I don't know if there is or isn't. Right, that's been the rumor that we are going to see that this year. If it's coming, then that would be their push against it. Surprise, it could be an acquisition, or it could be Game Pass changes, and I'm not sure which one would be like on the docket, but I don't know. Like neither one of those could be, but that would be a good surprise, right? That we acquired Crystal Dynamics, so like what if the closing of those studios under Bethesda was to say, hey, let's make room for the Middle Earth and Friends and bring that over and put it under Bethesda.
Wouldn't that be
say,
something?
hey, you guys now have all this, right? And not with those studios, can we light up more of those IPs, right? Something along those lines. You know what I mean? Right. So
it'll take some sting off of things, I imagine.
Wouldn't it, right? To say, okay, well, at least now we're getting a whole bunch of other studios, and some of them are Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal. So we get some nice IP there. We get some studios, and like, hey, maybe we can take advantage of that, and that includes, I guess, Lord of the Rings, if that's a useful IP to them or not, whatever. But I'm just throwing things out there. That's a possibility, right?
Yeah.
So if they could do Game Pass changes, that would be also interesting. I don't think they announce a price hike because that would be a negative news thing, and they definitely don't want to have negative news on the showcase, right? So I was thinking more along the lines of, hey, would we see Family Plan come out? Like something along those lines.
A long time coming for that.
Right? And could they be adding in the Epic Store or stuff like that, right? And make that a viable thing. I don't know. So those are the kind of things I was thinking as surprises, right? So, so acquisition would be my first one. I would love to see that, but Game Pass changes, store changes. I think those are the other ones that might be there.
Okay, cool. So there was some good picks from all of you guys. I was in correspondence with our good brother, middle-aged gaming guy, or gamer guy, as you guys know him as the Mag. And I asked him the question just to see what he would say, see if he revealed some things to me. And he's already revealed this on the XNC podcast with him and Colt. But he said Gears 6, Perfect Dark, new Halo not made by 343, which he spoke on before. It's a spinoff using Unreal Engine. He says, and Contraband might be shown. All those, he said, are expect to be there. This is what he told me. So Gears 6, Perfect Dark, a new Halo not made by 343, and Contraband possibly might be there. So, yeah. Now there's another game he knows, but he won't spoil it. He won't tell me. So I'm in the dark on that one. And I said, oh man. He said, you can use my name. I don't give a fuck. That's what he said. So he doesn't care about it, about being acknowledged for it. So, to his credit. Thank you, Mag. So those are the ones he expects to be there that he's heard things about already. For me, what I would expect, I'll try to see if I can pick around those since he's saying those will be there. I feel like we will see the either the Fallout, because like you said, Danny, it makes too much sense to capitalize off Fallout not to have something there. So that remake they were talking about should be there, come hell or high water. But I'll say
Yeah.
I'll go with one of my Mount Rushmores, the Oblivion remake, which was also put on those documents. I expect to see that pop up. The Oblivion remake. What's another one? 33 Immortals might be showing up there. I don't want to list that one. Let me list some bigger ones. How about a new game from Double Fine? They've been quiet for a while, so maybe we'll hear something new from them. I expect something from them. We could see more on Outer Worlds 2. Maybe we'll see actual gameplay trailer for that. I don't know if they're that far into development to actually show that though. So actually, I'll take that back. What would be nice is to see more. I said this before, some actual Fable, like dedicated gameplay, like because we got that CGI / gameplay trailer, you know, that they tell us was gameplay, but I want to see definitive gameplay of Fable. To say, oh yeah, that looks just like that. You know what I mean? So I would like that. And let me think. We know about the Gears of War collection and Gears 6, like you said. Those are like the most unkept secrets. Let me think. What's another one? I can't think of anything else. I guess they might show something with Indiana Jones, more gameplay of that. I'm thinking there'll be a lot of the things that like we've already heard of that we'll finally see more of, right? The Perfect Darks, like he already said, the Forza Horizon 6 might be announced. Stuff like that. I don't know if we'll get gameplay, but we'll definitely probably have it announced. It'd be nice to see whatever the hell happened to Everwild. Like whatever happened to that? That just disappeared. And if I had to say a surprise, we'll see. No, this is too early. I was gonna say we'll see Blade gameplay. Way too early.
No, way too early.
Yeah. So I don't know. If I had to say a surprise, we'll get a major game being announced to come to Game Pass. I just don't know what that would be third party though. Yeah, I don't know what that'll be, but it will be announced some major game coming to Game Pass. And this is on top of the obvious of Activision games being launched day and date finally or coming to the service or whatever. Obviously, we'll have the Call of Duty, second show after this case where I'm sure they're going to say that. So, yeah, those are mine. Mine are kind of boring because I think you guys picked all the great picks already. And Mag already confirmed some allegedly that will be shown. So, those are our predictions, folks. And we'll get out of here now. This was a great show. Thank you guys for being here. Hargeet, I'll start with you going on down the list. Hargeet, brother, tell the good folks where they can find you. And if you have the link, plug it into the chat really quick for your book, Emergence. I have it inside of the description. Yeah, I have it in the description. So if you guys would care to support our good brother here, please do so. I picked up a copy myself and a few others in the community have as well. I'm sure it's going to be a great read. I'm going to actually officially start on it tonight. So yeah, I promised myself, like, I'm going to get on this and stay off of social media. And so I'm going to start on it. But yeah, the link is in the description. So if you guys do have the, desire to get it, please do so. It's in there.
Yep.
And he'll probably share it in the chat as well. But yeah, thank you, Hargeet.
I did. I don't know if it actually showed up because usually URLs are blocked, but it's in there. It's shop.chani.us. So check it out if you want to get my book. Yeah, and then you can subscribe to my channel as well. I'll start putting up videos hopefully soon. I just kind of have to come up with a template myself to have something in the background, right? So, but yeah, so I'll have that, and it's Hargeet Chani 1 is the channel. So subscribe if you want to. And then yeah, I'll be on night shift tomorrow with C Money and Doodle. That's on Point for Gamers. You can check that out 6 p.m. US Eastern Time. And then I'll be on Fonz's channel as usual on Sundays 6 p.m. US Eastern on GameStalk Live.
Nice. Very nice.
And then we'll be back on Booms on Wednesday.
There you go. So I'm gonna post your link into the chat myself because I didn't see you pop up. Let's see. Did I mod you yet? By the way, there it is.
Probably not.
Just make a comment in the chat and I can mod you up.
All right.
Same for you, Logan. If you can make a comment, I'll mod you both up just in case. I'm gonna make that a thing going forward to mod up the guests. That way, in case they wanted to, come through saying whatever, they'll have that safety net. Where do I? There we go. All right, and of course, so thank you again, Hargeet, for coming through. Logan, my brother, thank you for gracing us your first time here. Hopefully not the last. Where can the good folks find you, and what will you be up to?
Well, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. Nice to meet y'all. And yeah, you can find me on, the lands, the streets of Twitter. I refuse to call it X. It's Twitter. So hanging on Twitter, and then Jamie and I's All Things Xbox every Tuesday, our podcast, and I've been making the rounds and hopping on some podcasts here and there. So, I might pop up in unexpected places. You never know.
Absolutely. There you go. It's good that you're expanding, man, and spreading your wings and going elsewhere. I remember.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I remember having a discussion with Boom, and, so many people were leaving his show because they, time, schedule, work, whatever. Hell, even me, people that watch know that I'm often knocked out at that point because I'm so tired. so it's been a thing of like, hey, who can we get to fill in? I'm like, hey, reach out to such and such and such and such. I even mentioned you. I said, reach out to Logan and see if you can have him come through. I don't know your guy's schedule exactly, but it doesn't hurt to ask, I suppose. But yeah. Anyway, and last but not least, my dynamic co-host, Daniel J. McGee. Danny, tell the good folks what you'll be up to, which is vacation land and becoming becoming official Italian, a boppity boopity.
God, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You can find me on Twitter at Daniel J. McGee or at my personal YouTube channel, Daniel McGee. Or if you happen to be in Italy over the next 2 weeks, try and find me. I genuinely don't know where I'm going to be at any given time. So come and find me. Where's Waldo, motherfucker?
Nice. Yeah, brother. Hey, you enjoy. I'm going to try to. Hey, listen, everybody in the chat that's listening, Dunn, I know I've seen you popping up on Boom's podcast lately, so I'll definitely reach out to you if you're interested. I definitely want to fill in some of the seats here because Danny will be gone. So I want to have at least, a co-host for that show that I'll fill in a position as well as they can, as well as guests. So I'll reach out to more people for these upcoming weeks to have a rotation. I've already reached out to some to have that filled in until you come back and grace us again, Danny. As for myself, of course, Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite, you'll find me either way on Twitter X. And as far as shows, Tuesdays at 12 o'clock Eastern, if I'm woke, you'll find me there on Boom's podcast. Thursdays, of course, here at The Fix, 8 o'clock Eastern. And tomorrow on the Infinite podcast, myself, Risky for the Biscuit, That Blue Number, and Spriggan, a.k.a. Dante Moody. And usually, if he can make it, Garuda Intruder. That's also at 8 o'clock Eastern. Come by and support us there. Again, for you guys here in the audience, thank you all. I didn't get a chance to shout you all out, but I did communicate as I could in the chat. Thank you all for being here, holding us down. If you have not done so, please hit the like button upon your exit. And we will see you guys. Well, some of us will see you guys next week. Danny is officially Italian after this week. So
I'm going abroad. I'm taking the show on the road.
There
baby.
you go. There you go. But all right, guys, you all have a good night and good week. Later.